Chapter 2382. You're a guest. 1. Although the White Tiger King asked this, in reality, its heart was in a mess. It had never thought that Lung Ruoxue would have the guts to send herself to its doorstep. However, due to Tsang's existence, even if it wanted to do something, it had to consider the consequences. Otherwise, if that fellow were to do something to its White Tiger clan in a fit of anger, it could not guarantee that it would be able to take it. However, when Lung Ruoxue heard the White Tiger King's words, she only smiled faintly and said, "It's nothing big. I'm just here for a walk. I can't just come to Longevity Mountain for nothing, so I have to visit everyone." When the White Tiger King heard this, it almost choked and passed out. It was about to go crazy from anger. It couldn't help but curse in its heart. You can't bully people like this, and you even came to visit? Why didn't he think about whether he was welcoming them? It really wanted to shout, "Get lost. I don't welcome you." However, from Lung Ruoxue's rascal-like expression, it knew that these people would not be sent away so easily. At this thought, the White Tiger King took a few deep breaths and couldn't help but roar again. "What do you want?" "I'm fine. We're really here for a walk," Lung Ruoxue said with a face full of grievance. She acted very innocent in the face of the fact that the White Tiger King did not believe her. However, her innocence made the White Tiger King gnash its teeth in hatred. If it could, it really wanted to rush in front of Lung Ruoxue and give her a good beating. However, as soon as it thought about how strong Azure was, it immediately dispelled this thought. That fellow, even if it had 10 times the courage, it couldn't afford to offend him. As the king of the White Tiger race, it definitely knew more things than ordinary beasts. Therefore, it was very clear that the Divine Master was not willing to make an enemy out of the Totoro. Although the Divine Master also hated the Totoro to the core, at least he maintained a rather friendly relationship with it on the surface. As such, even if it hated Lung Ruoxue to the core, it could only endure it before it decided to completely fall out with her. But now, this damn human woman was standing in front of him as if they were very close, as if she was really here to visit her relatives. This was too hateful. The White Tiger King couldn't take it anymore and continued to roar, "I'm not joking with you. What exactly is the purpose of your visit to our White Tiger race?" "I'm not joking. We're really just here for a walk. You have to believe me." Seeing that the White Tiger King refused to believe her words, Lung Ruoxue's aggrieved eyes began to tear up. That pitiful look on her face even made the White Tiger King feel a sense of guilt. However, the White Tiger King immediately reacted. It could not help but curse in its heart. Damn it, what was it feeling guilty about? It had not done anything to let this woman down. However, it did not want to continue fighting with Lung Ruoxue, so it said directly, "Now that you've strolled around, you can leave. I don't welcome you here. When did we go for a walk? You didn't even invite us in." Hearing the White Tiger King's words, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes and put on an innocent expression. Hearing this, and seeing the shameless expression on the other party's face, the White Tiger King almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He began to curse in his heart again. Where did this scoundrel come from? He even wanted to enter the White Tiger race for a tour? Was there still any justice in this world? These uninvited fellows weren't even guests invited by the White Tiger race, so what right did they have to invite them in? The White Tiger King couldn't think of a reason to invite these people into its clan, and it didn't want to see them. Thanks whenever the White Tiger King saw them, it would be reminded of the grievances it had felt in its heart. It was not a good feeling to have nowhere to vent its anger. It was better not to see them. At least it could endure it. However, once these people appeared in front of it, it was afraid that it could not control itself and would cause itself big trouble. Looking at the current situation, if he really didn't invite them in to sit, these shameless scoundrels probably wouldn't leave. But if he didn't invite them in, what if these guys forced their way in? The White Tiger King's brows furrowed together. After thinking for a long time, it still couldn't think of a good way to shut these people out. At this moment, the head elder of the White Tiger race tugged lightly on his back. The White Tiger King turned around and looked at the head elder as he asked in a soft voice, "What's wrong?" "King, let them in. You're a guest, so we'll just treat you casually." The Grand Elder of the White Tiger race advised in a low voice. You're still entertaining them? Who do you think they are? The first elder's words made the White Tiger King even angrier. These guys had already captured all of their White Tiger race's little brothers in one fell swoop. Now, they even came to find trouble with the White Tiger race. And he still had entertained them? Who would have such a good measure? At least it did not. My king, what else can we do? Looking at their appearance, they didn't look like they were here to pick a fight. If we make the first move, well, give them an excuse, so if they can bear with it, let's just bear with it. Let's deal with them first. The White Tiger race's head elder adopted the attitude of keeping things at peace. He was very afraid that the king wouldn't be able to hold back and make the first move. At that time, they wouldn't be in the right. Furthermore, the other party was an extremely cunning fellow. If he really gave the other party a reason to make a move, the peaceful days of the White Tiger race would probably come to an end. The White Tiger race's Grand Elder was well aware that if they were to go against Lung Ruoxua now, they would definitely not be able to gain any advantage. Even the Divine Master would not help them. Hence, the best way now was to satisfy her a little without going against their principles. She just wanted to come for a walk and be a guest. This wasn't a big deal. It wasn't as hard-headed as the king. One couldn't help but say that the Grand Elder of the White Tiger race had a certain status in the heart of the White Tiger King. The moment the Grand Elder finished speaking, the White Tiger King began to seriously assess them. Although he was extremely resentful in his heart, based on the current situation, satisfying the requests of these fellows was indeed the best solution. Unwillingly, he gave the White Tiger race's first elder a look. The White Tiger King then turned his head back and said to Lung Ruoxua with a constipated expression, "You're a guest. Since you're already at the door, come in and have a seat." One could imagine how aggrieved and furious the White Tiger King was when he said these words. However, as the king of the White Tiger race, it was necessary to consider the big picture. Therefore, no matter how unwilling he was for the sake of the White Tiger race, he had to show his magnanimous side. The White Tiger King's permission also surprised Lung Ruoxua and the others. Originally, they thought that they would have to argue or fight a few more times before the White Tiger King would invite them in. He didn't expect the White Tiger King to agree to it after a simple discussion with a white tiger. However, even though they were surprised, Lung Ruoxua and the others still appeared very happy when they heard the White Tiger King's invitation. Lung Ruoxua was even more infuriated as she said, "Since the White Tiger King has invited us so graciously, we won't stand on ceremony." These words infuriated the White Tiger King. Chapter 2383. A guest at the door, fuck. Who invited you? It was obviously you guys who shamelessly took the initiative to come here. However, it had already said its words, so it naturally couldn't go back on its words. Hence, it could only brace itself and invite the elated Lung Ruoxua and the rest into the White Tiger race. Initially, he wanted to bring Lung Ruoxua and the rest around and send them away. Who knew that they actually planned to stay here for a few days and even asked them to arrange a place for them to stay. When the White Tiger King heard Lung Ruoxua's request, the anger in its heart surged up, and its snow-white fur started to turn a faint pink. However, all of this was ignored by Lung Ruoxua. After suppressing his anger and arranging accommodations for Lung Ruoxua and the rest, the White Tiger King, who was burning with rage, turned around and returned to its own main hall. As for Lung Ruoxua and the rest, they were happily wandering around their residence. They found a place to sit down in the courtyard and ordered the White Tiger King to prepare some food for them. Then, they began to chat casually. You're the best. Even the White Tiger King can't do anything to you," Jiang Ning said with a face full of admiration. "You think it's afraid of me?" Lung Ruoxua laughed evilly. If I'm not afraid of you, who am I afraid of?" Jiang Ning asked with a puzzled look. "It's afraid of Song." Lung Ruoxua gently caressed Song Dao, who was lying in her arms. Hearing this, Song, who was disguised as a white kitten, waved his paws to show his presence. Hearing this, realization dawned on Jiang Ning. Then, he looked at Azure with a fawning expression and said, "Senior Azure, please provide for me." Lung Ruoxue and the others were silent. They were speechless. Damn it. I'm not interested in men. Unless you change your personality, don't even think about it. Azure said angrily. Can't you just put up with it? I'm easy to take care of. Jiangning said, unwilling to give up. Yup, as long as I provide for your herbs, it's fine, right? Lung Ruoxue said. Hee. Yes, I am. Jiangning nodded his head vigorously, giving Lung Ruoxue a look that said, you know me best. Then, he looked at Song expectantly. However, Song didn't even lift his eyelids and only said indifferently, herbs? No. There's green grass. Do you want it? Green grass, no. Jiangning refused. He had his own requests. How could he ask for grass? He wasn't a cow. Then I can't support you. I can only keep grass-eating animals. Song said helplessly, his face showing the words, I can't help even if I want to. Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue and the other two couldn't help but laugh out loud. On the other hand, Jiangning was completely speechless. So Tsong was planning to raise him like an animal? At this moment, the food Lung Ruoxue and the rest requested arrived, interrupting their teasing. Thanks the moment she saw the food in front of her, Lung Ruoxue's face immediately turned stern and she asked, is this the best food your white tiger race has? The best food that came into sight were a few pieces of meat. However, they were raw and were still dripping with fresh blood. Lung Ruoxue truly suspected that these tigers were using these things to disgust them. Therefore, she was rather dissatisfied. This is already the best thing that our white tiger race has to treat our guests with. The white tiger said in an extremely aggrieved manner. Its eyes were even filled with tears. Looking at its expression, it really wasn't just an ordinary kind of aggrieved. Your white tiger race also eats grass. Lung Ruoxue clearly didn't believe the white tiger's words. She pointed at a few strips of green that looked like grass and asked, did these guys eavesdrop on their conversation with Jiangning? Otherwise, why would he do that? This isn't grass. This is the most precious vegetable of our white tiger race. We usually can't bear to eat it and only serve it to our guests when we have them. The white tiger explained. Oh, really? Then you should eat all these dishes. Lung Ruoxue pointed at the dish. No, I don't dare to eat them. If I eat them, the king won't let me go. The white tiger's expression changed when it heard that, and it started to shiver. It's okay, I won't tell your king. Don't worry. Lung Ruoxue promised. In the end, under Lung Ruoxue's threatening gaze, the unlucky white tiger stuffed the precious dish into its mouth. It did not even chew and swallowed it. As soon as the dish entered its stomach, the white tiger could not help but start to vomit. The dish that it had just swallowed was all vomited out by it. Its face turned even uglier after it vomited. However, when it felt the unkind gazes from Lung Ruoxue and the others, it was so frightened that its eyes were filled with tears. It was on the verge of tears. The white tiger sobbed. It was so scared that it couldn't even complete a sentence. Is this the precious dish that your white tiger race treats its guests with? Is that for humans to eat? Lung Ruoxue asked calmly. Why, yes. Although the taste of that dish isn't that good, but to our white tiger race, it's indeed very precious. The white tiger said carefully. What kind of life is your white tiger race living? It's that difficult. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but ask after hearing the white tiger's words. No. It wasn't tea. There aren't many green plants on this snow mountain to begin with. The white tiger couldn't help but argue. In reality, the white tiger tribe were all carnivores. Therefore, things like vegetables were nothing to them. They didn't care about it at all. However, it was said that humans loved it. Therefore, they treated the few green plants on this snow mountain as a precious dish, specially used to entertain humans. However, the white tigers didn't like this dish at all. Most importantly, none of the humans who had visited the white tiger race were like Lung Ruoxue, who had never despised their dishes. One must know that those who could visit the white tiger race as guests were basically all important figures in the god world. Hence, they had always treated this green dish as a tradition in their hospitality. Who knew that Lung Ruoxue actually didn't like it? She even thought that their white tiger race was out of food. Such a fact made the white tiger, who was responsible for entertaining them, feel rather helpless. Furthermore, it seemed like the other party didn't really believe its explanation. Let me tell your white tiger king, it'll borrow its banquet hall for tonight. It'll treat the entire white tiger race to a meal. Lung Ruoxue did not care about the white tiger's inner turmoil. Instead, she went straight to the point. The white tiger didn't know how to react to this, but it still obediently reported the matter to the white tiger king. When the white tiger king heard the news, it agreed without a second thought. It wanted to see what Lung Ruoxue was up to. With the white tiger king's approval, Lung Ruoxue's actions became much more convenient. After moving Dongfang Yu and the rest out of the house, she immediately ordered them to help prepare food. After a few hours of busy work, half-finished food was finally ready. Chapter 2384. A Guest at the Door. 3. Lung Ruoxue and the rest had prepared mainly meat, vegetables, and fruits. When the white tigers saw these things, their eyes widened. However, what they were most interested in was still meat. However, the meat looked very unfamiliar. It looked like fish meat, but also like beast meat. They didn't know what it was, but they were too embarrassed to ask, so they could only put on a calm expression and then sit down. Lung Ruoxue had prepared 2 ways to cook the meat. One was to roast it, and the other was to boil in water. Furthermore, she was the one who did it personally. Not long after, the large banquet hall was filled with the aroma of roasted meat. Even Uncle Long and the others were excited, let alone the white tigers, who couldn't calm down after smelling the alluring fragrance. After all, it wasn't easy to eat Shui Er's personally cooked dishes. However, this time, they knew that Shui Er was planning to use delicious food to capture the hearts of these white tigers. Therefore, the ingredients she brought out were naturally of the best quality. In Lung Ruoxue's words, if she wanted to capture the hearts of these white tigers, she naturally had to capture their stomachs first. As the saying goes, one's appetite is short-lived. After eating her food, would they still have the face to find trouble with her? Lung Ruoxue, who had used all her skills, heard the sound of the white tigers swallowing their saliva. She was already laughing in her heart. This time, she would let the white tigers know what a top-tier delicacy was, so that they wouldn't always use the grass to deceive people. Lung Ruoxue was happy to see the white tigers gulping down their saliva without a care for their image. However, the white tiger king was deeply embarrassed. Had these guys not eaten for hundreds of years? Do you have to put on this face? It couldn't deny that the aroma of the food was very tempting, but the white tiger king would never admit that it was tempted. The meat in Lung Ruoxue's hand had just been roasted, so she took a piece for the white tiger king. The white tiger king was in a dilemma as it looked at the fragrant roast meat in front of it. Eat it. It felt that it had fallen into Lung Ruoxue's trap. However, if it didn't eat it, the taste would be too alluring. Woo! What should it do? The white tiger king looked at the roasted meat in front of it, as if it was looking at its enemy. Its face was filled with sorrow. However, the white tiger race's grand elder didn't think as much as it did. When Lung Ruoxue served the meat to it, it didn't even think twice before wolfing it down. Delicious. It's so delicious. The white tiger first elder praised as he ate. His huge mouth was also stuffed to the point that his voice was unclear. However, his actions of eating the meat did not slow down at all. The white tiger king cursed the first elder in its heart. Damn it. So what if you've never eaten anything in your life? Did he have to eat to this extent? The white tiger king did not forget that Lung Ruoxue was considered half an enemy. Unfortunately, the white tiger first elder was unaware of the white tiger king's thoughts. Seeing that the white tiger king was not eating the delicious food in front of him, he said with a look of pity, "King, if you don't want to eat, it'll help you eat it. It's shameful to waste. We can't waste." Without waiting for the white tiger king's response, he immediately picked up the roasted meat in front of it and started eating. Seeing it like this, the white tiger king was so angry that its head was about to smoke. He continued to glare at the disappointing first elder. However, the first elder of the white tiger race still seemed to have forgotten himself as he ate happily. One after another, the other elders' roasted meat was served. Although some of the more timid elders did not dare to eat when they saw that the king had not eaten, more and more elders began to eat impatiently after the first elder started eating. After eating the roasted meat, the elders began to savor the ordinary boiled meat. However, the moment the meat entered their mouths, they were surprised to find that boiled meat was even more delicious than roasted meat. The meat that Lung Rawashua roasted was soft and tender. The meat that was boiled in water was even more alluring. It melted in their mouths. They could not imagine how such delicious food could exist in this world. It was the same roasted meat, but the one they made was like heaven and earth. After eating Lung Ruakshu's food, many of the elders felt that they would never be able to eat anything else in the future. Thinking of this terrifying outcome, many of the elders could not help but burst into tears. How are they going to live in the future? Although they wouldn't starve to death, even if they didn't eat, who would let go of the opportunity to taste delicious food? At that moment, all the white tigers were filled with hatred, love, and resentment towards Lung Ruashue. All sorts of feelings welled up in their hearts. Lung Ruashue, who was well aware of their thoughts, was extremely calm. After the meal, Lung Ruashue and the others had a much deeper relationship with the white tigers. Uncle Long had even started calling many of the white tiger elders his brother. Under the cannonballs of delicious food and fine wine, most of the white tigers had been shot. Their hostility and fear towards Lung Ruashue and the others had also reduced by a lot. Lung Ruashue was very satisfied with this result. However, the White Tiger King was furious at this fact. After the banquet ended, it gathered all the elders together and scolded them until they were drenched in dog blood. However, it still felt that it was not enough to vent its anger. It then found an excuse to send away the elders who were closer to Lung Ruashue and the others. It was like out of sight, out of mind. Thanks the next day, Lung Ruashue and the rest also clearly discovered that some of the familiar elders of the white tiger race had disappeared. However, she was very smart and didn't ask about their whereabouts. Instead, she went to find the White Tiger King to chat. The White Tiger King had been sulking the entire night. When it heard that Lung Ruashue had arrived, it was about to say that it would not see her. However, when it turned around, it saw that the person who gave it a headache, Lung Ruashue, had already entered its main hall as if she was following her own home. This scene made it so angry that it almost vomited blood. "Damn it, did I say you could come in?" The White Tiger King said angrily. "No, I didn't tea, but you didn't say that I'm not allowed to come in," Lung Ruashue said with a smile. The evildoer and the others beside her nodded in agreement after hearing Lung Ruakshu's words. The White Tiger King was about to go crazy from anger when it saw how friendly they were. Before the White Tiger King could vent its anger, Lung Ruashu comforted it with a faint smile. "Little White, don't be angry. It's not good to hurt yourself, don't you think? It's your head." The White Tiger King choked and cursed in its heart. At this moment, from the corner of its eye, it saw Lung Ruashue placing food on the table. It looked like it was the food she had prepared last night. What was he trying to do? Was he trying to tempt it? It wouldn't be fooled. The White Tiger King's was very firm, as it secretly thought to itself. Even though the smell of the food was extremely alluring, and it had been craving for the entire night yesterday, it could not afford to lose face today. It would not eat the food that was as disgusting as Lung Ruashue's. Yes, it must not be fooled by this human. It had not forgotten that these humans had done so many terrible things in its territory. How could such a deep hatred be bought over with some food? He was not like those spineless elders. He was the White Tiger King, the great White Tiger King. He had to be different from the rest. With this thought in mind, the White Tiger King's determination grew stronger. Even when Lung Ruashue invited it to enjoy the food, it did not even blink or look at the food. Seeing this, Lung Ruashue gave Uncle Long and Jiangning a look. The two of them understood and grabbed the White Tiger King's front paws from the left and right. Lung Ruashue was in charge of stuffing the food into the White Tiger King's mouth. Woo-woo. The White Tiger King struggled and shut its mouth tightly, refusing to eat. However, the taste of food still lingered on its lips. In the end, it couldn't resist the temptation. It ate the food that was brought to its mouth with extreme anger and anger. However, the grievance in its heart couldn't be described with words. The White Tiger King would never have thought that Lung Ruoxiue and the others would dare to use force. This, where'd its dignity as the White Tiger King be placed? What made it feel even more regretful was that it actually couldn't resist the temptation of the cannonball and fell down. Lung Ruoxiue and the rest felt helpless as they watched the White Tiger King eat its food while sobbing. It was just forced to feed it some food, so why did this old white tiger look as if its father had died? After thinking for a while, Lung Ruoxiue tried to show her friendliness by saying, "Little White, don't cry. I saw that you didn't manage to get anything yesterday, so I specially made this for you. So you don't have to be too touched. It's just a small matter to me. Easy?" Hearing these words, the White Tiger King trembled in anger. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as this. Wasn't this lying through his teeth? Was it touched? It was clearly indignant, all right? It was grief and indignation. The White Tiger King tried its best to suck up to Lung Ruoxiue. It was filled with resentment towards her, and its eyes were spitting fire as it looked at her. However, it was very resigned to its fate and continued to eat its food. It could be said that as it ate, it cried and hated her. However, Lung Ruoxiue took the White Tiger King's series of actions as being shy. Lung Ruoxiue gave it some thought and patted the White Tiger King's head. She smiled and said, "Little White, after eating my food, we'll be friends from now on. Let's get along well." "Get along, my ass." The White Tiger King disagreed with Lung Ruoxiue's words. After snatching its beast, she wanted to get along with it. Did she really think it was a bun that could be easily bullied? However, that was then, and this was now. Right now, its mouth was filled to the brim, so it naturally had no time to argue with Lung Ruoxiue. However, the thoughts in its heart were clearly displayed on its face. Seeing that the White Tiger King did not seem too willing, Lung Ruoxiue's anger rose. Chapter 2385, A Scamming Oath 1. Little White, are you not happy? Lung Ruoxiue squinted her beautiful eyes as she spoke in an unhappy tone. However, the White Tiger King, who was eating happily, did not notice the displeasure in Lung Ruoxiue's words. Instead, it nodded its huge head seriously. Of course, it was not happy. This woman had done so many detestable things in their White Tiger race's territory, yet she still wanted to be friends with him? Wasn't that just a dream? The White Tiger King had also thought things through. Eating was one thing, but it was impossible to buy it over so easily. No way. After finishing a piece of meat, the White Tiger King continued to eat another piece as if there was no one else around. As for Lung Ruoxiue, she was completely ignored by it. Seeing it eating so happily, Uncle Long and Jiangning felt that they didn't need to force it to eat anymore. Look at how happy it was. With this thought in mind, the two of them let go of each other at the same time. At this moment, Lung Ruoxiue stepped on the White Tiger King's paw. The White Tiger King felt the pain and quickly raised its head. It said unhappily, "Woman, you stepped on my paw." Although the White Tiger King was in pain, it still maintained its composure and did not lose its temper. However, Lung Ruoxiue replied matter-of-factly, "I know. I stepped on your claws." "Damn it. What did you just say?" Hearing this, the White Tiger King's anger rose again, and it roared at the top of its voice. A provocation. This was definitely a provocation. There was no fake provocation. The White Tiger King was furious. However, it still missed the taste of the food, so it had not thought of eating. However, even if it did not eat, it did not mean that Lung Ruoxiue would let it continue eating. Lung Ruoxiue snatched the meat that the White Tiger King had stuffed into its mouth with her bare hands and said, "You can't eat this meat anymore. It's better to feed it to a dog than to feed it to you." The White Tiger King was not prepared at all for its food to be snatched from the tiger's mouth. It was only after a long while that it reacted to the meaning behind Lung Ruoxiue's words. Fuck, what did he mean by better to feed the dogs? Did this mean that it was not even as good as a dog? The White Tiger King's anger shot up to its head. With a roar, It stood up and glared at Lung Ruoxue with its eyes that were bigger than a copper bell. In the next second, the overbearing White Tiger King pounced towards Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue nimbly dodged the White Tiger King's attack. Then, she immediately floated in midair and quickly gathered the Fire-type Divine Power in her hand. When the Fire-type Divine Power was as big as a blue ball, Lung Ruoxue raised her hand, and the huge fireball that was emitting a scorching heat flew towards the White Tiger King. The White Tiger King looked at the fireball that was right in front of it and felt a sense of fear. However, it didn't think that it would be afraid of a small fireball, so it didn't even try to dodge and let the fireball hit its body. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the rest retreated from the White Tiger King's main hall. It was only when the fireball had turned its body into a sea of fire that the White Tiger King finally realized that the fear it had felt was not baseless. It was real. The temperature of the fireball was so high that even a reverent god like White Tiger King couldn't bear it. The White Tiger King cried out in pain, and its huge body jumped up 10 meters high, directly hitting the beam of the house. With a loud bang, the strong beam was broken into several pieces under its violent impact. The entire palace was on the verge of collapse. However, the White Tiger King could no longer bear the increasing heat. It jumped up and down even more violently, and soon the palace collapsed. Thanks, the white tigers heard the sound and immediately ran over from afar. When they saw this scene, all of them were dumbfounded. What kind of situation was this? Who was the giant fireball that was jumping in the air and howling? The voice sounded familiar. However, none of them had linked the fireball to the White Tiger King. They only continued to whisper to each other. Who is that? Was it the one who destroyed the king's great hall? How dare you? As he listened to the discussion of the white tigers, the white tiger great elder's face was filled with black lines. He glanced at Lung Ruoxue and the rest who were also watching the show from the side. He took the initiative to move forward and asked with a curious expression, Miss Lung, you arrived earlier than us. Do you know who the guy who destroyed the king's hall was? It couldn't tell that it was the White Tiger King. It's your White Tiger King, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. As the sound of his voice faded, the White Tiger race's Grand Elder, who heard this answer, immediately turned to stone. However, Lung Ruoxue wasn't in the mood to coax this overly agitated White Tiger race's First Elder. After giving the evil demon and the rest a look, they swaggered out of the White Tiger King's main hall as if there was no one else around, leaving the White Tiger King to do whatever he wanted. After returning to his own residence, Jiang Ning was still in a state of sleepwalking. When he finally came back to his senses, he suddenly remembered something and asked, You've already attacked the White Tiger King. Shouldn't we take advantage of the chaos and leave? He felt that it was time for them to leave this place. Otherwise, when the White Tiger King finally reacted, they would not be able to leave even if they wanted to. However, seeing how calm Lung Ruoxue and the others were, he did not know what to say. Jiang Ning's words also surprised Lung Ruoxue. Why did you leave? The White Tiger King will seek revenge. Jiang Ning reminded her speechlessly. He couldn't help but think, does this girl not know what she has done to the White Tiger King? The White Tiger King was probably still trying to put out the fire. What revenge? It was the one who attacked first. I was just defending myself. Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Jiang Ning didn't know what to say. It seemed that this girl's self-defense was much sharper than the White Tiger King's attack. Moreover, no matter how he thought about it, he felt that the White Tiger King was the one at a disadvantage. Stay here in peace. The White Tiger King is not in the mood to seek revenge. Lung Ruoxue said confidently when she saw how conflicted Jiang Ning was. All right then. Jiang Ning was helpless. Since Lung Ruoxue, the person involved, was so calm, what was he a bystander afraid of? Just like that, Lung Ruoxue and her group settled down in the White Tiger race as if nothing had happened. The White Tiger King, who had been entangled by the fireball, could not bear the bone-piercing pain and disappeared. When Lung Ruoxue and the rest heard the news, they were still calm. This news was also told to them by the White Tiger race's Grand Elder. In the words of the White Tiger race's Grand Elder, the huge fireball that was suspected to be the White Tiger King bounced around randomly for a while before bouncing out of the White Tiger race's territory and disappearing. They had also searched the Longevity Mountain for a long time, but they couldn't even find a strand of White Tiger King's hair. When the White Tiger First Elder told Lung Ruoxue and the others about this news, he hoped that they could help think of a solution. More importantly, he wanted to clarify the situation because Lung Ruoxue and the others seemed to know what had happened. However, no matter how much he hinted and beat around the bush, they just refused to talk about it. This fact made him feel helpless. Chapter 2386. A Scamming Oath 2. However, when Lung Ruoxue saw the conflicted expression on the White Tiger First Elder's face, she consoled him with good intentions. "Don't worry, your king won't die." Ugh. The White Tiger First Elder was silent. He didn't know if this was considered a consolation. If it was, then wasn't this consolation a little too much? The king was definitely not dead, but where was he? The White Tiger First Elder's face was filled with sorrow. However, he was soon hit by Lung Ruoxue's cannonball again. Because Lung Ruoxue had seen how hard it was for them to find the White Tiger King, she had made them a lot of delicious food. This had completely captured the hearts of the White Tigers, and none of them suspected that she had anything to do with the White Tiger King's accident. From this, one could see the charm of food. Every time he saw how the White Tigers were trying to please Lung Ruoxue, Jiang Ning was speechless and didn't know what to say. This was really too unreasonable. With the White Tiger King missing, shouldn't Shui be the most suspicious? Why didn't the White Tigers suspect her? Even the First Elder of White Tiger, who had only been suspicious for a moment, had long forgotten about his question when he saw Lung Ruoxue's fawning look. AI. Jiang Ning had been sighing as he watched the show, but he couldn't help but admire Lung Ruoxue's abilities. When they had nothing to do, Jiang Ning finally couldn't take it anymore and asked, "Shui, are we still not leaving? When the White Tiger King returns and tells us the truth, these white tigers will eat us alive. Look at how timid you are. So what if the tiger comes back? Will it try and eat me? Oomph. Even if it wants to come back now, it won't be able to come back in a short time, let alone that it hasn't returned yet." Before Lung Ruoxue could reply, Song spoke first. He looked at Jiang Ning with eyes full of disdain. "Yes, don't be afraid. It won't be back for a while." Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. Since you're so sure, do you know where it is now?" Jiang Ning asked curiously. Although he was being looked down upon, he was already used to it. His tolerance had increased greatly, so he didn't think much of it. From Lung Ruoxue and Song's words, he should know where the White Tiger King was. Therefore, he quickly put on an expression that said, "Please tell me." "It's on fire. Where do you think it could be?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a mysterious smile. "Fire? Could it be that it's in the water?" Hearing this, Jiang Ning couldn't help but speculate. "You're right. However, it's not in any ordinary water now. It's in a 10,000-year-old ice river not far from here." Azure said with a smile. "Has the fire been put out?" Jiang Ning quickly asked. This was what he was most concerned about. "Thanks, no, I didn't." Lung Ruoxue said with certainty. When Song told her the White Tiger King's whereabouts, she had already guessed its motive. However, her fire was not an ordinary fire. It was not something that could be put out by water, not even the water of 1,000-year ice river. "Is it still alive?" Jiang Ning asked hesitantly. He had heard of how powerful Shui Air's flames were, so he was very curious to see if the White Tiger King could withstand them. "He's alive. The White Tiger King is a reverent god after all. If he can't withstand that little flame, he can really buy a piece of tofu and commit suicide." Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. She had no intention of taking the White Tiger King's little life at the moment, so the flame that was thrown at the White Tiger King's body wasn't very strong. Naturally, it wouldn't take its little life, but although it could keep its life, the White Tiger King would probably suffer quite a bit. The truth was just as Lung Ruoxue had thought. The White Tiger King was still engulfed in a ball of fire, and within the fire, it could still feel the excruciating pain. It roared in anger as the hot fire and cold water alternated on its body, causing it to be surrounded by a sea of fire and ice. The endless pain had caused its hatred towards Lung Ruoxue to reach deep into its soul. However, at this moment, the hatred in its heart was beyond its reach. Lung Ruoxue, who was in the White Tiger race, was living a very comfortable life. Without the White Tiger King, the biggest obstacle, Lung Ruoxue quickly won over most of the White Tiger's hearts. Although those White Tigers were not to the extent of listening to Lung Ruoxue's words, the White Tiger elders were still very willing to consider her opinions. A few days later, Lung Ruoxue seized the time and brought Evildoer and Azure to the 1,000-year ice river where the White Tiger King was. After several days of hard work, the flames on the White Tiger King's body had finally shrunk. However, the flames were still unbearably hot, and the alternating hot and cold was driving it crazy. In fact, if it could, it would have fainted, but its mind was extremely clear. Just as the White Tiger King was having the time of its life in the depths of the 1,000-year ice river, a voice that it was not very familiar with but had left a deep impression on it suddenly sounded in its ear. "Little White, how had you been these few days?" Hearing this sound, the White Tiger King immediately reacted and couldn't help but roar. "Lung Ruoxue, you still dare to come?" "Why would I not dare to come? I didn't do anything bad. Besides, I'm here to see you." Lung Ruoxue laughed. Hearing this, the White Tiger King was immediately enraged. The hatred in his heart deepened, and he couldn't help but curse in his heart. This damned woman, she caused it to be in this state, and she still dared to come and see it like nothing had happened? Was he here to see if it was dead? However, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint her. Although this feeling of fire and water mixing is extremely uncomfortable, it's still alive and well. The White Tiger King was filled with pride. It felt that it was too great. It had lived in fire and water for so many days, but it was still so fierce. No one else could do this, right? At the thought of this, the White Tiger King sneered and said, "Lung Ruoxue, I'm sorry to disappoint you, right? I'm still alive and well. Why should I be disappointed? If you die, they'll be really disappointed. How could the White Tiger King, a godly, venerable rank beast, be so weak? Am I right?" Lung Ruoxue said calmly, "That's right. Who am I? I'm the White Tiger King. This little flame can't do anything to me." After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the White Tiger King braced itself and bragged. In reality, the flames were so hot that it was on the verge of collapse. However, it could not lose face. In front of Lung Ruoxue, it could not admit defeat. Otherwise, it would really be embarrassing. "Little White, originally, I came here to help you, but since you said that this flame can't do anything to you, I don't think I should be a busybody. You can wait for the flame to extinguish. I estimate that in about 8 million years, this flame should be able to burn out. At that time, you will be safe and sound. We'll be leaving first. Have fun on your own." After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she pulled the evildoer and turned to leave. Chapter 2387, A Scamming Oath 3. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the White Tiger King held on at first. However, when it saw that the two of them had really turned around and left, it became anxious instead. It couldn't help but shout, wait a minute." Hearing the White Tiger King's cry, Lung Ruoxue laughed in her heart. She turned around and asked, "Is there anything else? Damn it, aren't you guys here to help me? How can he leave so easily?" The White Tiger King roared, "We just want to help you, but you don't need it, do you? Since you don't need it, why should we meddle in your business?" Lung Ruoxue said innocently, "Weren't you the one who caused me to be like this? Shouldn't you be helping?" The White Tiger King roared in anger. "You're the one who attacked first, all right? I was only defending myself." Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face still looked innocent. "If you don't step on my claws, can I attack you?" The White Tiger King felt wronged as well, and it started to sob. It was truly angry. This damned human woman had caused it to be in deep waters these past few days, and now she was actually pushing the blame onto it. She was really too hateful. It had lived for so long, but it had never seen such a hateful human. Any human who dared to disobey, it had basically died in its hands. And those who were still alive were not people it could afford to offend. And this woman happened to be one of them. It was also because of this that the White Tiger King's hatred for Lung Ruoxue had almost piled up into a mountain. However, as long as it thought of that perverted song, its heart couldn't help but tremble. Right now, it only knew that Lung Ruoxue had song by her side. It was so scared that even though it hated Lung Ruoxue to death, it still didn't dare to attack her. If it knew that Lung Ruoxue had a mistress of the dark world by her side, it would probably faint from fear. However, it probably wouldn't be able to find out about this situation in a short period of time. This was because Lung Ruoxue had no intention of exposing her demon-like identity. As the White Tiger King thought of this, the grievances in its heart suddenly deepened. Furthermore, it clearly hated someone to death, but it had no way to vent its grievances. It also made it seem like a pitiful little thing that no one wanted, and its whole body was in a state of sadness. Lung Ruoxue noticed that the White Tiger King had suddenly stopped talking and seemed to have heard its sobs. A few drops of cold sweat dripped down her forehead as she said helplessly, "That's because you don't want to be my friend. I'm very sincere, but you don't give me any face at all, and even eat the food I prepared for my friend with great interest. Don't you know that the mouth that eats people is short?" The White Tiger King's mind was still a little muddled by Lung Ruoxue's tantrum. After thinking about it carefully, it felt that it was indeed its fault. However, it couldn't tell what was wrong. For a moment, it was stunned. It was only when a wisp of fire burned it and made it cry out in pain again that it suddenly came back to its senses and continued to say aggrievedly, "What do we do now?" The White Tiger King in the flames was at a loss. Its mind was getting more and more muddled, and it was completely led by the nose by Lung Ruoxue. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but reveal an expression of a promising child and said, "That's up to you. If you want to be friends with me, it'll help you. Otherwise, you'll have to wait here for 18 million years. One day, you'll leave this place. 800 to 10,000 years? Could it wait that long?" The White Tiger King couldn't help but feel disgusted. It had only been a few days, and it was already going crazy. Furthermore, Lung Ruoxue's flame was also very strange. Even such cold water could not do anything to the flame. It was really strange. In reality, it had not thought that Lung Ruoxue's flames were that powerful. After all, even though the flames were hot and it felt uncomfortable, it was only uncomfortable and it could still withstand it. However, if it was really like what Lung Ruoxue had said, and it had to endure for 18 million years, it would not be able to take it. Towards Lung Ruoxue's words, it didn't want to believe her, but it had no choice. In short, it was in a dilemma. In the end, it decided to give in for the time being and leave this place first. As the saying goes, a man knows when to yield and when to stretch out. It's nothing to yield temporarily. At most, there will be a chance in the future to get it back. With that in mind, the White Tiger King naturally knew what to do. Therefore, it spoke in a friendly manner. I want to be friends with you. Are you sure?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. "Yes." The White Tiger King nodded. "You said it yourself. However, I still don't quite believe you. Why don't you make an oath?" Lung Ruoxue requested. "What oath?" The White Tiger King was stunned. Why did he have to swear? How was it going to take revenge in the future after making the oath? "An oath that you're willing to be my friend." Lung Ruoxue replied matter-of-factly. "Oh, I'm willing to be friends with Lung Ruoxue." The White Tiger King mimicked what the White Tiger King had said. Then, the rules of the contract descended, and its oath naturally became true. Thanks, even though the White Tiger King was extremely unwilling, it knew that if it did not follow Lung Ruoxue's request, Lung Ruoxue would definitely not help it. Hence, it could only bite the bullet and make the oath. Fortunately, Lung Ruoxue did not have any other requirements for this oath, or else it would really be a headache. When Lung Ruoxue saw that the White Tiger King had made the oath, she retracted her flames, saving the White Tiger King from the abyss of suffering. As soon as the White Tiger King came out, it glared angrily. However, as soon as it glared, a faint warning came from the depths of its heart. Immediately, the White Tiger King was deeply depressed. Fuck! It had only glared at him, and the laws of heaven and earth had actually jumped out to warn it. What the hell is this? It would never have thought that it would not even be able to glare at Lung Ruoxue after making an oath that it was willing to be friends with her. In the future, if it really wanted to go against Lung Ruoxue, wouldn't the regulations of heaven and earth kill it instantly? The White Tiger King was in despair. This was too much of a scam. Grief, anger, and depression intertwined in the depths of the White Tiger King's heart. It felt that it had been tricked. Furthermore, when it looked at Lung Ruoxue's beautiful smile, the White Tiger King's heart was filled with unspeakable bitterness. After thanking them, the White Tiger King left Lung Ruoxue and the demon without looking back. It had to heal its injuries. He comforted the sorrow in his heart. Seeing how disloyal the White Tiger King was, the demon could not help but complain to Lung Ruoxue. "This is the guy you want to save? You're clearly an ungrateful wolf." He. It was depressed now. We have to understand it. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Just now, Song had already told her about the White Tiger King's inner turmoil, so she was in a good mood. Although she didn't know if the White Tiger King would have the guts to betray her in the future, at least for now, the White Tiger King didn't pose a threat to her. With that, Lung Ruoxue pulled Demon Child along and rushed back to the White Tiger race. Upon seeing the two of them returning from outside, the various patriarchs of the White Tiger race were all extremely bewildered. When did these two go out? Why didn't anyone see them? However, this wasn't the time to ask them because their minds were all tied up by their king. Lung Ruoxue could tell that the White Tiger race's elders had a change of heart, so she spoke in an understanding and wise manner. "Elders, what happened? You don't look too good." "King, something has happened," an elder said in a low voice. "Something happened again? Didn't it come back?" Lung Ruoxue asked, pretending to be surprised. "I'm back." The elder nodded. Then, he seemed to have noticed something and asked, "Miss Lung, how did you know?" "Of course I know, because I was the one who saved it." Lung Ruoxue took the credit without any hesitation, not even blushing or her heart beating fast. "Arg, Miss Lung, so it was you who saved our king. You're truly the great benefactor of our White Tiger race." The moment the elder heard this, he immediately shouted out excitedly. His gaze towards Lung Ruoxue became even gentler. "I treat the White Tiger race as my friends. Since your king is in trouble, it's only right for me to lend a hand," Lung Ruoxue said shamelessly. She didn't feel that there was anything wrong with her words because she was indeed the one who had rescued the White Tiger King. Otherwise, that old white tiger would still be suffering in deep waters and suffering. Lung Ruoxue naturally took the credit. The entire White Tiger race, other than the White Tiger King, was extremely grateful for Lung Ruoxue's righteousness and treated her and the rest as distinguished guests. When the White Tiger King heard this terrifying news, he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. When the elders of the White Tiger race saw this, they were all shocked. Some of the elders even treated Lung Ruoxue as their backbone. The moment the White Tiger King vomited blood, they immediately called for Lung Ruoxue. However, after seeing Lung Ruoxue, the White Tiger King felt that its internal injuries seemed to have worsened. It was also so angry that it couldn't speak. It could only use its pair of eyes that were spewing fire to glare angrily at the meddlesome elder. However, the elder who reacted a little slower naively thought that the White Tiger King was angry because it felt that it had caused trouble for Lung Ruoxue. AI. The king was thinking too much. Actually, Lung Ruoxue, the human, was very warm-hearted. A certain elder, who had a screw loose, couldn't help but think to himself. Lung Ruoxue arrived at the White Tiger King's newly built Great Hall and sized it up carefully. Finally, she turned to the worried White Tiger race's elders and said, "I'm fine. After spitting out this mouthful of blood, your king's illness will be mostly cured. Don't worry. What it vomited out was only blood clots. It was not a big deal. Didn't you notice that its face has become much rosier?" When the White Tiger elders heard that, they took a look. It really was like that. Wang's face was indeed ruddy. Chapter 2388. You have to help me. 1. After hearing Lung Ruoxu's words and seeing the look of agreement on the White Tiger Elders' faces, the anger in the White Tiger King's heart shot up to the top of its head. In its heart, it could not help but curse the elders to death. Fuck! What's with the look in these bastards' eyes? It was clearly so angry that its face turned red. These guys actually believed that woman's nonsense. The White Tiger King almost spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood when it saw the expressions on the elders' faces. It was getting more and more frustrated as it looked at the elders in front of it. In the end, the White Tiger King couldn't take it anymore and finally roared, "Get lost! Get lost! Get out! I don't want to see you." The White Tiger elders were stunned. Was the king talking about them? They didn't know how they had offended their king. How could their king treat them like this? The White Tiger elders' fragile glass hearts were deeply hurt. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue could not help but comfort her. "All elders, please leave. Looking at your White Tiger King's angry appearance, it should be fine. Don't disturb its rest." With Lung Ruoxu's words, the White Tiger elders instantly felt much better. After exchanging glances with each other, they left with a look of reluctance. However, Lung Ruoxue did not leave. Not only did he not leave, but he also found a chair in the White Tiger King's dormitory and sat down. He then stared at the angry White Tiger King. The White Tiger King stared at Lung Ruoxue in disbelief, its eyes widening. Fuck, still here? This woman was actually still in front of him. The White Tiger King was furious. Continued to stare. Seeing that the woman was still smiling at it, as if nothing had happened, the White Tiger King immediately wilted. Woo! Compared to this shameless and extremely thick-skinned woman, it felt like it was a newborn baby, so fragile. That kind of person was pitiful. Lung Ruoxue sat on the chair and admired the White Tiger King's expression for a while. She finally spoke. "Little White, you've driven away all the elders, so we're the only ones left to accompany you. Are you happy?" "Happy my ass." Hearing this, the White Tiger King wanted to cry, but had no tears. However, seeing how Lung Ruoxue didn't seem to care about its reaction, the White Tiger King was completely speechless. It felt that no matter how many words it said, it would not be able to move this woman, let alone make her disappear from its sight. Woo! Why is it so pitiful? The White Tiger King was extremely depressed. In the next second, it buried its head in its two forearms dejectedly, refusing to look up even if it were to die. It did not want to see this hateful human woman in front of it anymore. However, even so, Lung Ruoxue had no intention of leaving. She sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the White Tiger King. When it was time for dinner, she took out the food she had prepared and began to eat, completely ignoring the White Tiger King's reaction. The White Tiger King was about to go crazy from the tempting aroma. "Thanks, no. I can't be fooled. I can't be tempted by this woman's food." It was a White Tiger King with a strong will. The White Tiger King consoled itself in its heart, but the aroma of the food was simply too alluring. The White Tiger King had just raised its head, unable to resist the temptation, but it caught a glimpse of Lung Ruoxu's beautiful, smiling eyes. In an instant, it quickly lowered its head again and began to hold a grudge against itself. He had to endure. "Little White, are you hungry?" Lung Ruoxu asked with a smile. "I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry." The White Tiger King said without raising its head. "You're really not hungry? You've been seriously injured and vomited a lot of blood. Now is the time for you to recuperate. Are you sure you don't need to replenish your energy?" Lung Ruoxu tried to tempt him. "I don't need to." The White Tiger King roared as it raised its head and said fiercely, "Who hurt me? Isn't it you? Look at what you've done to me. You've ruined my beautiful snow-white fur." The White Tiger King. In the White Tiger King. But now it's a black tiger. The White Tiger King was roaring to its heart's content, but just as it finished, it felt a warning from the laws of heaven and earth in its heart. It cursed in its heart again. Fuck. He couldn't even stare. No shouting. Was there anything else it could do? So what if Lung Ruoxu's family was the one who raised the regulations of heaven and earth? Why do you like to meddle in other people's business? Having lived for so long, The White Tiger King had never heard of such gossiping about the regulations of the heaven and earth. Wasn't this like a dog taking a mouse? Could there not be disputes, conflicts, and falling out between friends? At this moment, the White Tiger King's depression could not be described with words. It even felt that it had lived for so many years in vain. The gaze it used to look at Lung Ruoxue also turned resentful. However, Lung Ruoxue was no longer afraid of the White Tiger King's bluffing. Hearing its roar, Lung Ruoxue continued to smile and comforted. "Who can you blame for this? I was just defending myself. If you don't take the initiative to attack me, how can I fight back? So, we're on the same level, so let's not blame each other, okay? Go my ass." The White Tiger King did not want to bother with Lung Ruoxue anymore. It simply bent its huge body and buried its head deep into its body, pretending to be dead. Lung Ruoxue let out a heavy sigh when she saw the White Tiger King's reaction. She finally let the White Tiger King go out of kindness and said with a helpless expression, "AI, Little White, I wanted to spend more time with you, but I've been away from home for a long time, so it's time for me to go home." The moment it heard that Lung Ruoxue was leaving, the White Tiger King jumped up and said with a smile, "You're leaving? Take care, I won't send you off." Seeing how excited the White Tiger King was, Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly and reminded, "I haven't finished my words. Why are you in such a hurry?" The White Tiger King was dumbfounded. What did this mean? It didn't know why, but it had a bad feeling. "It'll wait for your injuries to recover before leaving. Otherwise, I won't be at ease." Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. "I've recovered. It's true." Upon hearing this, the White Tiger King stopped playing dead and immediately jumped up and down. It was afraid that Lung Ruoxue wouldn't believe it, so it deliberately jumped up high and danced around in joy. "Yes, it looks like it's healed." Lung Ruoxue nodded. However, she was still worried and asked, "Little White, you're not holding on, are you?" "No, I didn't. Definitely not." When the White Tiger King saw that Lung Ruoxue did not believe it, it continued to twist and turn its limbs, even jumping up and down to show Lung Ruoxue that it had indeed recovered. Seeing the White Tiger King putting in so much effort to put on an act, Lung Ruoxue deeply felt that if she suspected that it was pretending, it would not be very fair. Thus, she kindly let the White Tiger King off and expressed that she could leave without worry. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue had finally decided to leave, the White Tiger King's heart was filled with joy. It wanted to roar at the sky and report this good news to the immortal realm. However, it was still very calm. It was afraid that if it acted too excitedly, it would anger this woman, so it had been holding it in, and it had been holding in with great difficulty. Chapter 2389. You have to help me, too. On the day that Lung Ruoxue left the White Tiger race, many of the White Tiger race's elders couldn't bear to part with her. Only the White Tiger King was so excited that he was about to fly into the sky, even though he was trying his best to suppress his sorrow on the surface. When they could no longer see the backs of Lung Ruoxue and the rest, and the spies had confirmed that Lung Ruoxue and the rest had really left the Longevity Mountain, the White Tiger King even ordered the White Tiger Elders to buy some firecrackers from the humans in the Divine Realm to set off as a celebration. Although the White Tiger Elders couldn't quite understand the White Tiger King's spirit, they still obediently did as he said. On that day, it was said that the entire Longevity Mountain was filled with the sound of thunderbolts and the joyful howls of a certain beast. After Lung Ruoxue and her group left Longevity Mountain, they did not return to the Land of Demons. Instead, they headed straight to the Dragon Clan's territory. This time, Lung Ruoxue's target was the affiliated beast clans under the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan and the beast clans they belonged to all lived on Dragon Mountain. Dragon Mountain was the dragon race's territory. It was located to the east of Longevity Mountain and was also an endless range of mountains. When Lung Ruoxue and the others arrived at Dragon Mountain, they took in some of the smaller beasts in the area. When the Dragon Clan heard about this, they were so angry that they almost went crazy. However, by the time they reacted and wanted to stop Lung Ruoxue and the others, they had already finished what they had to do and left. All that was left was an empty dragon mountain for the dragon race. Furthermore, Lung Ruoxu's method of subduing the small beasts this time was more intense. Those who were willing to surrender were still fine, but those who were not willing to surrender were all conquered by force. In the end, all the beasts on Dragon Mountain, with the exception of the Dragon Clan, were all in Lung Ruoxu's possession. After looting Dragon Mountain, Lung Ruoxu and the rest headed straight for Phoenix Territory. As the Phoenix Territory was closer to the Imperial City, Lung Ruoxu did not want to alert Wu Qing. Hence, they carried out their actions in the Phoenix Territory in secret. As soon as they arrived at the Phoenix Territory, Lung Ruoxu instructed Ling to cast an invisibility spell on them. With this spell, the group of people could naturally swagger into the Phoenix Territory. The reason why their operation in the Dragon Clan was so smooth was also because of this invisibility technique. When they arrived in the Phoenix Territory, everyone naturally followed the same pattern and split up. Lung Ruoxu, the demon, Uncle Long, Dong Fangyu, and the rest led their teams and headed straight for the location of the Phoenix Territory's magical beasts. With the old Phoenix's guidance, they easily passed through the many checkpoints set up by the Phoenix Territory and successfully sneaked into the territory. Feng Zhan couldn't help but sigh when he saw how smoothly the group was moving. The Feng clan was so useless. It had been so many years, but the location and method of passing the checkpoint hadn't changed at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to get in so easily. In fact, the reason why the position of the Phoenix tribe's checkpoints and the method of clearing them had not changed was because the current Phoenix King was too confident in the strength of his own tribe. He always felt that the Phoenix tribe that could enter the Phoenix territory in the Divine Realm were all his people now, and the previous Phoenix King who knew about these checkpoints would definitely not be able to come out. Therefore, he was not worried in the slightest that his territory would be invaded by strangers. However, it would never have thought that Feng Zhan and the other phoenixes from the lower realm would return to the heavenly realm. Back then, when Feng Zhan was waiting for the phoenixes to be exiled, the current Phoenix King had no intention of letting them come back. He really thought that they would never come back. Who knew that Lung Ruoxu would bring Feng Zhan and the other phoenixes back to the immortal realm? If the current Phoenix King knew about this, she would probably vomit blood in anger. Right now, Lung Ruoxu definitely did not intend to disturb the Phoenix clan. Hence, their actions were unusually secretive. After they successfully infiltrated the Phoenix territory, everyone split up. The beast clans in the Phoenix territory were mainly bird-type beasts. Other than the Phoenix clan, the most powerful ones were the Peacock clan, the Eagle clan, and other birds of prey. Lung Ruoxu was in charge of these exceptionally ferocious beast clans. Thanks, Lung Ruoxu only brought Song with her. A human and a beast first arrived at the Peacock clan's territory. When they arrived at the entrance of the Peacock clan's territory, Lung Ruoxu immediately knocked out the guard and kept him in her bracelet. She then swaggered into the Peacock clan. After Green Vessel found out about the Peacock King's whereabouts from the Peacock Guard, he immediately told Lung Ruoxu where the Peacock King was. Lung Ruoxu then went to look for the Peacock King. As the saying goes, to capture the bandits, first capture the king. To subdue a race, one naturally had to first capture their king. After finding the Peacock King's main hall, Lung Ruoxu walked in directly. The Peacock King in the palace was an extremely beautiful man. At this moment, he had transformed into his human form and was currently savoring some fine wine. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxu had a good idea. She took out a bottle of wine from her bracelet and placed it on the Peacock King's table. Peacock King was shocked when he saw a bottle of wine on his table. He quickly asked, "Who is it? Come out." Seeing that she had been discovered, Lung Ruoxu immediately revealed herself. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, Peacock King's expression changed. You are? Lung Ruoxu. What are you doing here? How did you get here?" At first, the Peacock King only felt that this woman looked familiar. However, after careful examination, he realized that this woman was Lung Ruoxu. This fact made him feel a little afraid. He couldn't understand how Lung Ruoxu had managed to pass through the heavy sentries and get to him. What were the Peacock race's guards doing? Damn it! The Peacock King wanted to shout for help, but he felt embarrassed. After all, it was just a woman and a pet in front of him. Although this woman gave him a lot of pressure, his face was more important. "I'm here to find you, of course. You're the Peacock King, right? As for how I got here, of course I walked in." Lung Ruashue replied with a smile. Walked in? The guard didn't stop you?" The Peacock King clearly did not believe Lung Ruashue's words. When Lung Ruashue heard this, she naturally put on a helpless expression and said, "No, I didn't. No one is stopping me. Something's wrong. Why didn't I see you just now? How did you do it?" Peacock King suddenly reacted. He didn't see Lung Ruashue's figure earlier. If he didn't see her, then those guards should not have seen her either, right? "You mean invisibility?" Lung Ruashue asked. "Invisibility? You're actually invisible?" Peacock King's expression changed again. This time, it was even blacker than the bottom of a pot. Fuck. So this woman can make herself invisible. Then what were they still playing for? Peacock King couldn't help but curse in his heart. However, he still maintained a calm expression and asked, "Why are you looking for me?" "I'm fine. I just want to chat with you." Lung Ruashue laughed. After she finished speaking, she even found a place to sit down and face the Peacock King. As she sized up the Peacock King, Lung Ruashue was secretly in awe. This old peacock had the looks of a dog and a standard pretty boy. It was no wonder that he was under the protection of the current Phoenix King. Chapter 2390. You Have to Help Me. 3. According to the rumors, the Peacock King seemed to have a very close relationship with the current Phoenix King. Otherwise, with the strength of the Peacock tribe, it would be impossible for them to be ranked above the fierce Eagle tribe. From this, it could be seen that this old peacock still had some tricks up his sleeve. What do we have to talk about? The Peacock King was speechless. He had barged into the peacock race just to chat with him? Did they think he was a 3-year-old child? Only a ghost would believe this. We have a lot to talk about, such as the scandal between you and the Phoenix Prince. Lung Ruashue smiled calmly. I'm telling you, the Phoenix King and I are innocent. There's no relationship between us." Hearing this, the Peacock King was enraged. What he hated the most was when people talked about the rumors about him and the Phoenix King. Even if there was something wrong, he didn't want to hear it. Who would like that perverted old phoenix who had so many male companions? He wasn't looking for a beating. Do you think it's okay just because you say so? All the beasts and humans in the divine realm know that you have a close relationship. Don't deny it. Men and women get married when they're older. This isn't something embarrassing. What's there to deny? Lung Ruashue said with a look of disapproval. "Do you really have to wrong me like this?" The Peacock King was filled with grief and anger as tears slowly welled up in his eyes. When Lung Ruashue saw this, she was dumbfounded. Ugh, what was going on? Could it be that she had accidentally touched the Peacock King's forbidden zone? Look at this aggrieved little appearance. It looked even more like she was suffering. No wonder the current Phoenix King liked him. However, Lung Ruashue had never expected that with just a few words, she would be able to anger the originally furious Peacock King to the point of tears. This guy didn't even give any warning before he cried. In reality, Lung Ruashue was well aware that the relationship between the current Phoenix King and the Peacock King was not as close as it seemed. According to Tsang, the Phoenix King had been coveting the pretty boy. However, the pretty boy had been unwilling, so she wanted to use this as a breakthrough to pull the Peacock King to her side. However, it seemed like she had overreached herself. What should he do? Lung Ruashue was depressed. He didn't think that there would be a day when he would make a mistake. Just as Lung Ruashue was thinking of ways to make up for it, a guard's voice suddenly came from outside the Peacock King's main hall. "My king, the Phoenix King is here." Hearing this, the Peacock King's expression became even uglier. His tears also stopped flowing. "You have to help me." The Peacock King turned his head and saw Lung Ruashue. He requested as if it was a matter of course. "Why should I help you?" Lung Ruashue asked with a puzzled look. Because you're the one who attracted her here. If you hadn't mentioned her, she might not have come at this time." The Peacock King's mind whirred as he grumbled. Lung Ruashue was even more dumbfounded. This reason wasn't a little too far-fetched. What did it have to do with her? She was clearly very aggrieved. all right? This time, it was Lung Ruakshu's turn to be angry. Seeing the Peacock King's expression, she was speechless. How do you want me to help you? Lung Ruashue forced herself to remain calm as she asked. I don't know, Peacock King said irresponsibly. After thinking for a while, the Peacock King said, I heard that you're very strong. Why don't you temporarily keep my woman? I believe that with your strength, you should not be afraid of the Phoenix King. Don't even think about it. Upon hearing this, Song Xian was furious. His eyes were filled with deep hatred as he looked at the Peacock King. However, the dead pig wasn't afraid of boiling water. It was obvious that the Peacock King was ready to risk everything, so he naturally ignored Song's anger. The Peacock King couldn't help but think that he would be taken advantage of if he fell into the hands of the Phoenix King. If he fell into the hands of Lung Ruashue, he might still be able to keep his innocence. Therefore, he didn't take little beast's words to heart. In fact, he even hoped that Lung Ruashue would abduct him at this moment. If that was the case, he wouldn't have to deal with that loathsome Phoenix King. Thinking of this, the Peacock King became even more confident. Song, who was well aware of the Peacock King's thoughts, was convinced by his shamelessness and silently agreed to his thoughts. However, Song knew that he would definitely tell this to the vinegar jar and someone would deal with him. Are you sure you want me to help you? Lung Ruashue asked again when she saw that Song wasn't so angry anymore. Thanks, yes. You're not afraid of the Phoenix King. So, only you can help me. The Peacock King was also desperate. Furthermore, he had long heard of Lung Ruakshu's great name. Naturally, he knew how powerful this woman was. She was definitely the best helper he could use to deal with the Phoenix King. At the thought of this, it couldn't help but be so excited that its eyes shone. It's not that I can't help, but I want a reward. Lung Ruashue saw that the Peacock King's will was very firm, so she had no choice but to reveal her motive. No problem. How much do you want? He'll pay. The moment the Peacock King heard that Lung Ruashue was willing to help, he was so excited that he was about to jump up. Why would he care about that little bit of money? However, it was a pity that Lung Ruashue did not want money. I don't want money. I want the person, Lung Ruashue said with a smile. People. The Peacock King was puzzled. His handsome face was filled with confusion. I want your peacock race to recognize me as your master, Lung Ruashue said directly. This is impossible. No, the Peacock King rejected excitedly. Impossible? Well then, you can just wait to become the Phoenix King's exclusive property. Anyway, you're living in the Phoenix territory now, which is almost equivalent to being imprisoned by the Phoenix King. She may still be willing to dote on you now, but when she runs out of patience, she may just use force on you. Are you sure you want to wait for that day? Lung Ruashue reminded him with a smile. After saying that, she stopped talking and waited for the Peacock King to make a wise choice. Now that the Phoenix King was about to come, she believed that if the Peacock King was smart, he would know how to make a wise choice. As expected, the moment Lung Ruakshu's words left her mouth, the Peacock King's expression changed again and again. He was thinking rapidly in his heart. As the Phoenix King's footsteps got closer and closer, the Peacock King's expression turned even uglier. I agree. I promise you. The Peacock King said hurriedly. He really couldn't wait any longer. In reality, Lung Ruashue was right. The Phoenix King's patience had been wearing thin recently. She would come every 2 or 3 days to take advantage of him, causing the entire Peacock tribe to be on edge. She had even arranged for spies in the Phoenix tribe's territory. Once they found any signs that the Phoenix King was looking for him, they would immediately report it. Therefore, he knew that he did not have much time left. After all, the Phoenix King had come here very quickly, and he did not have much time to think. Seeing that the Peacock King had finally nodded, Lung Ruashue smiled in satisfaction. Then she took out a disguise pill and consumed it. In the blink of an eye, she had transformed from a devastatingly beautiful woman to an ugly middle-aged woman of about 40 years old. Seeing this scene, the Peacock King's forehead couldn't help but be filled with black lines. He couldn't help but feel disgusted in his heart. What was this? You can change into a middle-aged woman if you want. And he even got such an ugly one. It would be a wonder if the Phoenix King believed that this ugly woman was his woman. The Peacock King was determined not to be optimistic about Lung Ruoxu's transformation. However, Lung Ruoxue did not care whether he liked it or not. She immediately went forward and pulled the Peacock King's small hand, sitting face to face on the chair. Lung Ruoxue even deliberately picked up a fruit from the plate on the table and fed it to the Peacock King's mouth. She coaxed, "My dear, quickly eat. What fresh fruit." The Peacock King furrowed his brows. He suppressed the nauseating feeling and took a bite of the fruit from Lung Ruoxu's hand. This scene was coincidentally seen by the Phoenix King, who had pushed open the door and entered. The Phoenix King was instantly enraged. She took a big step forward, wanting to separate the shameless couple in front of her. Although the two of them were not close, she just couldn't stand the sight of them. "Damn it, what are you guys doing? Hurry up and separate." The Phoenix King roared in anger. Its fiery red eyes glared at Lung Ruoxue, especially the fruit in her hand. It was really annoying no matter how one looked at it. One had to know that she had used many methods, including threats and promises, to make the Peacock King yield. But now, everything seemed so harmonious in front of her eyes. What was even more infuriating was that the Peacock King seemed to be very happy. This greatly stimulated her spirit. Following that, she pointed at Lung Ruoxue and questioned the Peacock King. "Who do you think this woman is?" "Phoenix King, she is my woman," the Peacock King said calmly, suppressing the fear and disgust he felt for the Phoenix King. "Your woman, right? Good. Then I'll kill her." "Oomph. You can only be mine. Any woman who dares to snatch my man will die a horrible death." The Phoenix King roared in anger. However, before she could make a move, Lung Ruoxue, who was looking at her from the corner of her eyes, smiled and said gently, "What if the one snatching your man is Wu Cheng? Are you going to kill her too?" "Rhyme ice? That was impossible. How could she possibly snatch my man?" When the Phoenix Prince heard Lung Ruoxu's words, he quickly denied it. "How is it impossible? I've often heard from God Lord Rhyme that she likes your Phoenix clan's feng xiu," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Song had just told her that Feng Xiu was one of the Phoenix King's male companions, so she had used him without any shame. She had also conveniently set up some obstacles for the Mist Ripple. She didn't believe that the Phoenix King wouldn't be suspicious when she could even say his name. As expected, after hearing Lung Ruoxu's words, the Phoenix King's expression changed slightly. She could not help but shout, "How do you know Feng Xiu's name? Who are you? How did you know that I like Feng Xiu?" Chapter 2391. Duping the Phoenix King. 1. Hearing the Phoenix King's roar, Lung Ruoxue continued to smile. "Who am I?" "I'm an advisor to God Lord Rhyme. Have you not heard of me?" The Phoenix King was stunned. She had never heard of this before. However, after hearing Lung Ruoxu's words, the Peacock King's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Never in his dreams would he have thought that his future master would be so good at deceiving. At this moment, he didn't know whether it was the right decision to acknowledge her as his master. It was no wonder that Lung Ruoxue dared to go against the Divine Master. Look at what she was doing now. They were clearly enemies of God, Lord Rhyme Mist, yet they dared to blindly claim that he was an advisor. If God Lord Rhyme Mist were to hear of this, he would be half dead from anger. However, when he saw the Phoenix King's petrified expression, the Peacock King felt that it was quite satisfying. After all, it wasn't good to reveal Lung Ruoxue's identity. Otherwise, it was hard to say if she would be able to walk out of the Phoenix territory. Suddenly, he started to worry about Lung Ruoxue. Although he had long heard of Lung Ruoxu's strength, he had never seen it with his own eyes. As such, he could not be certain of just how strong Lung Ruoxue was. However, since she dared to go against the Divine Lord, she must be quite strong. However, he also knew that God Lord River Mist would not use all her strength to deal with Lung Ruoxue. The Phoenix King was different. If the Phoenix King hated someone, he would definitely not stop until the person died. There were still many powerful old phoenixes in the Phoenix clan. If those old phoenixes were all sent out by the Phoenix King, he, the master. At the thought of this, the Peacock King could not help but glance at Lung Ruoxue worriedly. Naturally, both Lung Ruoxue and the Phoenix King noticed this glance. However, the Phoenix King naturally thought that this adulterous couple was flirting with each other right in front of him. They were really too despicable. The Phoenix King, who was burning with jealousy, was about to curse when Lung Ruoxue spoke first. "It's no wonder you've never heard of me. At your level, you don't have the qualifications to know of my existence." These words immediately made the Phoenix King choke. The words that she wanted to say were forcibly swallowed back in anger, and she was so angry that she almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking at the Phoenix King's pale face, the Peacock King was speechless. This future master's ability to anger others to death was definitely at the peak. The Peacock King, who thought of himself as simple-minded, would never have imagined that there would be someone like Lung Ruoxue in this world. From what he knew, humans might be cunning, but he had never heard of someone who could anger others to such an extent. However, when he saw the Phoenix King's dejected look, the Peacock King felt a rare sense of satisfaction. He had lived for so long and had known the Phoenix King for a long time, but he had never seen the Phoenix King being bullied like this. At this time, the Phoenix King, who had calmed down for a long time and felt that he could finally breathe, suppressed the anger in his heart and asked, "Since this king's level is not high enough to know of your existence, it must be fate that we met today. I hope that your excellency can tell me your honorable name. It's not that I can't tell you, but what good would I get? You must know that God Lord Rhyme doesn't like me to be exposed." Lung Ruoxue put on an awkward expression. "Fuck, you still want benefits?" He only told her his name. Thanks, the anger in the Phoenix King's heart surged to her head, and her voluptuous chest heaved up and down violently. But very quickly, the Phoenix King forced himself to calm down and asked with a constipated look on his face, "What do you want?" "Hee, I want the Peacock clan," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "Don't even think about it." The Phoenix King was so angry that he gritted his teeth. "What? You still want to hit on my man?" "Phoenix King, I'm telling you, the Peacock King is the man I like. You'd better not have any ideas about him. Besides, I don't just want a Peacock King, I want the entire Peacock race. You have to give it to me, no matter what. If worst comes to worst, they'll have God Lord Rhyme ask for it. I believe that with God Lord Rhyme's orders, you'll obediently deliver the Peacock clan to me." Lung Ruoxue used the ripple mist as a threat. Originally, she wanted to secretly take the Peacock tribe away, but the appearance of the Phoenix King gave her inspiration. She felt that it was a little too easy for her to quietly and secretly take away the Peacock tribe. So, since she wanted to play, she might as well make it bigger. Since she had already framed Wu Yin, why not make the matter bigger? She wasn't afraid of things blowing up. Hee. The more Lung Ruoxue thought about it, the more she felt that her idea was great. She could not help but smile. However, in the Phoenix King's eyes, this was a blatant provocation. The Phoenix King was furious, especially when she saw the man she had been coveting for a long time looking at that ugly woman with adoration and love. The anger in her heart rose uncontrollably. In reality, the Peacock King's gaze towards Lung Ruoxue was filled with adoration. However, there was no love in it. However, the Phoenix King was currently burning with jealousy and couldn't care less. The moment the Peacock King looked at Lung Ruoxue, she felt that this adulterous couple was expressing their love with their eyes. Fortunately, the Peacock King didn't know the Phoenix King's thoughts. Otherwise, he would have cried out that he was wronged. Even though Lung Ruoxue's beauty was unparalleled in this world, based on a short interaction with her, he clearly knew that he would never dare to fall in love with such a powerful woman. It was too stressful, wasn't it? The pressure that Lung Ruoxue gave him was even greater than that of the Phoenix King. Compared to Lung Ruoxue, the Peacock King deeply felt that the Phoenix King was nothing. At the very least, the Phoenix King would not dare to use God Lord Fog Ripple as an excuse to fool others in such a blatant manner. However, Lung Ruoxue was so familiar with doing this. One look, and you could tell that she was a repeat offender. However, as soon as he thought about how this repeat offender who loved to fool others was going to become his future master, Peacock King suddenly became excited. He believed that his future days would definitely not be boring. but it would also be very dangerous. This was because his future master's ability to offend people was at the peak. However, there were always losses for every gain. Now, he only hoped to get rid of the Phoenix King's harassment and leave the rest to fate. And now, the only person who could help him was Lung Ruoxue. As for the others, not many of them dared to go against the Phoenix King. As for God, Lord Mist Ripple, although the Phoenix King appeared respectful on the surface, she probably didn't care much about her in private. Since he had already decided which side he was going to stand on, the Peacock King immediately calmed down. There was a hint of respect in his eyes as he looked at Lung Ruoxue. This once again provoked the Phoenix King, because even when he was being forced by her, he had never looked at her with such a gaze. The Phoenix King, who had eaten a jar full of vinegar, thought about it again and finally decided to compromise. After all, she couldn't fall out with Fog yet. Then, she heard the Phoenix King say, with a helpless expression, "I agree to give the Peacock tribe to you. However, since the Peacock tribe already belongs to you, they can't live in the Phoenix territory anymore. Without the protection of the Phoenix tribe, do you think they won't be bullied by humans?" Chapter 2392, Duping the Phoenix King 2. The Phoenix King's words contained two meanings. One was to agree to Lung Ruoxue's deal, but he did not forget to remind her of the Peacock clan situation. The Peacock clan's status in the firmament was all thanks to the Phoenix clan's protection. She said this in hopes that Lung Ruoxue would think things through. In her opinion, even though this ugly woman claimed to be Wu Xian's advisor, she didn't think that this ugly woman would dare to move the Peacock race to the Imperial City. Most of the people living in the Imperial City were humans. Very few beasts would stay there, because the beasts living there only had one identity, and that was the pets of humans. Real beasts would definitely stay far away from areas where humans gathered. Otherwise, if they were accidentally captured by humans and forced to recognize them as their masters, it would definitely not be worth it for the beasts. The beastmen of the Peacock clan had always been known for their beauty. After transforming into human form, they also looked extremely weak and would definitely be able to kill both men and women. There were many people and beasts in the divine realm who preferred this. Therefore, if they were not living in the Phoenix territory, the safety of the Peacock tribe would be greatly reduced. In particular, the Peacock tribe's strength was not considered the top among the beast tribes in the divine realm. All these years, it was because she had taken a fancy to the Peacock King that the Peacock tribe had been able to live in the Phoenix territory like fish in water. They even had the tendency to become the second largest beast tribe in the Phoenix territory. The Phoenix King believed that without her protection, once the Peacock tribe left the Phoenix territory, they would only face the fate of being hunted and killed by the humans. After she had said this, she initially thought that Lung Ruoxue and the Peacock King would be hesitant and afraid. Who knew that the two of them would act as if nothing had happened and did not take her words seriously. This fact made the Phoenix King feel extremely defeated. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile, "I am deeply grateful for your consideration for the Peacock tribe. However, since you have agreed to give me the Peacock tribe as a reward, their life or death has nothing to do with you. So, you don't have to worry about it." Seeing that Lung Ruoxue did not appreciate his kindness at all, the anger in the Phoenix King's heart rose by quite a bit. At this moment, the Peacock King also expressed his stance. "Well, Your Highness, I appreciate your kindness. I also believe that my beloved woman will protect me well." Hearing the Peacock King's words, the Phoenix King almost went crazy with anger. Did he just treat his words as farts? These two fellows were really too despicable. They actually didn't understand her painstaking efforts. Who was she doing this for? Wasn't it all for that silly little peacock? Thinking of this, the Phoenix King wanted to make one last attempt and said, "Peacock King, you trust this human so much. But what if she lets you down? What will you do then? If that's the case, I'll accept my fate. Who asked me to like her?" After hearing the Phoenix King's words, the Peacock King said with a face full of worry. There was a faint trace of resentment in his eyes as he looked at Lung Ruoxue, causing the Phoenix King to be jealous again. "Fuck, Here it comes again. He was like this in front of her, but what about when he was carrying her? The Phoenix King was so jealous that she almost lost her mind. Fortunately, she still had a trace of clarity and did not forget the purpose of giving the peacock tribe to the so-called advisor, Fog Ice. Then, she asked directly, "Now, can you tell me your name?" Thanks when she said this, the Phoenix King was still thinking in her heart. When did this adulterous couple hook up? Why didn't she hear anything about it? One had to know that she was also paying close attention to the Peacock King's every move. To actually let this fish slip through the net and enter the Phoenix territory, it was really preposterous. I'm called Lien Wu. You can call me Lord Lien. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly. Lien Wu. The Phoenix King tried hard to recall this name. After thinking for a long time, she finally confirmed that she had never heard of this name. Is that your real name? Why haven't I heard of this name among the powerhouses I know? After thinking for a long time, the Phoenix King couldn't help but ask. Of course it's your real name. As for why you've never heard of it, is it hard to understand? As I said, I'm God Lord Rhyme Miss Aid. Don't you know what an aid does? The so-called advisor is someone who gives ideas to others and thinks of solutions. Therefore, I use wisdom and not brute force. As such, you have not heard of me among the strong. What is there to be surprised about? Because I'm not a strong person. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she explained, even giving off a "you understand now." Look, the Phoenix King was a little angry. But the Phoenix King couldn't deny that what he said was right. Wasn't the advisor supposed to give the master ideas? There were quite a few around her. Hence, at this moment, she had no way to doubt Lung Ruoxue's words. However, when the Peacock King heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he was laughing in his heart. Wasn't it the exact opposite of the name? This future master of his was really too evil and cute. At this moment, his admiration for Lung Ruoxue had risen to a new level. Especially after seeing the Phoenix King's look of understanding, his admiration for Lung Ruoxue was like a torrential river, unending. His admiration for the Phoenix King further stimulated him. Although the Peacock King was no longer under her jurisdiction, she still couldn't bear to see the Peacock King act so lustful in front of her. Hence, without thinking, the Phoenix King asked again, "Since you're only God Lord Mist Ripple's aid, how can you guarantee the Peacock King's safety?" The old man asked. "This is none of your business, right? Moreover, with Wuya backing me up, who would dare to find trouble with this little peacock? Wouldn't that be suicide? So, the Phoenix King, you should put your hard-working heart into your stomach. He's my man, I know what I'm doing. You don't have to worry about his safety, right? The little peacock." Lung Ruoxue threw a flirtatious look at the Peacock King before throwing the question back to him. When the Peacock King heard this, he immediately became excited and said, "That's right. I've already said that no matter what my fate is in the future, I'm resigned to it. Therefore, you don't have to worry about my safety, Your Highness. I believe that the woman I like will not disappoint me. Yes, yes, little Peacock knows me best." After hearing the Peacock King's words, Lung Ruoxue's face revealed a satisfied smile. Then, she stretched out her jade-like arms and pulled the tall Peacock King into her embrace to show her intimacy. However, Peacock King, who was being hugged by Lung Ruoxue, did not feel any joy at all. Instead, he was on tenterhooks. The little kitten in Lung Ruoxue's arms was glaring at him furiously. The pressure that the little kitten gave him was also rather great. But even so, the Peacock King still had to smile and put on a happy expression. When the Phoenix King saw this, she could not stop panting. The fire of anger in her heart was raging. She even thought about whether she should kill this eyesore named Lien Wu here. Even though she had thought about it, she really didn't dare to make a move. After all, she didn't want to completely fall out with that woman, Wu Cheng. Otherwise, she really wouldn't be able to defeat that woman. Furthermore, there was also the scourge Lung Ruoxue, who was watching her like a tiger watching its prey. With that, all the more she couldn't offend Wu Cheng. Chapter 2393, Duping the Phoenix King 3. However, she was still a little suspicious about the identity of this Lien Wu. After thinking for a while, the Phoenix King continued to probe. Your Excellency Lien Wu, you say that you are an aide of God Lord Fogripple. I wonder if you have proof? You need proof? Lung Ruoxua blinked her eyes. She really didn't have any. However, Song should have one, right? Without needing Lung Ruoxua to say anything, Song considerately threw a token onto the Phoenix King's body. The Phoenix King quickly caught the token and glanced at it. Instantly, he turned pale with fright. Isn't this the personal token of that woman? Wu Yin? It definitely was. Although she had only seen this token once, she had a deep impression of it, because it was the first time she had seen a blood-red token. Even if she liked the Red Phoenix clan so much, the token was not the color of blood. The token in front of him was blood-red in color. It was as if blood was flowing around the token. There was only a huge red flower on the token, which looked extremely strange. At this moment, it was impossible for her to suspect the identity of this ugly person named Lien Wu. However, she became even more depressed and couldn't help but let her imagination run wild. Could it be that the Peacock King had fallen for her because of that ugly woman's identity? Could it be that she, the dignified Phoenix King, who was devastatingly beautiful, couldn't be compared to an ugly monster? Although Lien Wu was Fog's advisor, she had never respected Fog, so she didn't think that the ugly woman in front of her was much higher than her. That woman was so ugly. No matter how hard she racked her brains, she couldn't understand why the Peacock King would like that ugly monster. The Phoenix King felt that it was the greatest insult to her to lose to such an ugly person. However, the other party's identity was clear, and he had Wu Xian's personal token in his hand. It was obvious that his relationship with Wu Xian was not ordinary. Therefore, she could only suppress her anger. However, she really did not like the feeling of having no way to vent her anger. Following that, the Phoenix King returned the token to Lung Ruoxua as if she was holding onto a hot potato. She then found an excuse to leave the peacock race dejectedly and gloomily. If she didn't leave now, she really couldn't guarantee that she wouldn't be able to control herself from beating up that ugly freak. And if he really beat her up, it would definitely be a big problem. After the Phoenix King left, the Peacock King heaved a long sigh of relief. Only God knew how nervous he was earlier. Compared to Lung Ruoxua's calmness, he deeply felt that he still had a lot more to learn. Under Tsang's glare, he quickly escaped from Lung Ruoxua's embrace. Otherwise, he would have been beaten up. After calming down, the Peacock King said, "Future Master, can you return to your original appearance now? I really can't accept this face." And he was actually being hugged by such a woman. Woo-woo. The Peacock King felt that his 10,000 years of innocence had been destroyed. I think this is pretty good. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she replied nonchalantly. The Peacock King was speechless. However, he still fulfilled his promise and acknowledged Lung Ruoxua as his master. The contract had just ended when the Peacock King suddenly received a report from his guard. "My king, the Phoenix King, is back." Hearing this, the Peacock King's face immediately paled, and he appeared to be at a loss. Lung Ruoxua shot a glance at the Peacock King and said calmly, "Look at you. Is that woman that scary? She's a beauty. How could she scare you like this?" "You don't know." The Peacock King was listless. He also felt that he was quite disappointing. However, the Phoenix tribe was the leader of all birds. It was normal for him to be afraid, right? This was decided by their race's characteristics, so he couldn't be blamed. "Calm down. Don't be afraid. I'm here." Lung Ruoxua gave the Peacock King an encouraging look. All right then. Encouraged by his new master, the Peacock King forced himself to cheer up and welcome the Phoenix King's return. Thanks when the Phoenix King returned for the second time and saw Lung Ruoxua and the Peacock King in a harmonious mood, her heart was filled with jealousy. Without waiting for her to speak, Lung Ruoxua struck first and asked, "Didn't you have something urgent to attend to, Your Highness? Why did you come back?" "I forgot something." "Lord Lien Wu, since the Peacock King is already your man, I think we should hold a ceremony so that I can formally and carefully hand the Peacock King over to you. What do you think?" The Phoenix King said bluntly, "I don't think it's a good idea." Although the Peacock clan was once a subsidiary clan of the Phoenix clan, he's not your son. Do you still want to experience the feeling of marrying your son off? Besides, although we like each other, we are humans and beasts. It's not appropriate for us to be so ostentatious. Therefore, I hope that the Phoenix King can understand. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Actually, Lung Ruoxue was afraid that the evildoer would fly into a rage if he knew about this. The two of them had not really held any ceremony yet. If he were to sacrifice himself in order to help his beastie, then that man would definitely come and wreak havoc in the divine realm. She was terrified just thinking about the consequences. Yes, that's right. We can't let anyone know about our relationship. After Lung Ruoxue had finished speaking, the Peacock King was extremely cooperative. There was no ceremony for a love between two different races. The Phoenix King was simply finding trouble for them. He deeply agreed with this. The Phoenix King knew that they were telling the truth. If people knew that humans and magical beasts were in love, it would indeed cause a lot of trouble. However, she really did not want to see this adulterous couple being so harmonious. Therefore, she began to think of other possibilities. In short, she had to do something. Otherwise, his heart would be unbalanced. Faced with the Phoenix King, who was tirelessly trying to create trouble for them, Lung Ruoxue naturally wouldn't stand on ceremony. She let out a soft sigh before saying, "Phoenix King, I actually have something to tell you too. It's just that you left in a hurry just now, so I didn't have the chance to say it. Now that you're back, let's have a good discussion." What's the matter? Lung Ruoxue's words gave the Phoenix King a very bad feeling. This was definitely the prelude to something bad. It's like this. I've said before that God Lord Fogripple likes feng shui, right? Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Yes. The Phoenix King nodded, but the uneasiness in his heart grew deeper and deeper. In truth, I've come to see the Peacock King on behalf of God Lord Fogripple to demand you hand over the person. Zhao Feng said. Lung Ruoxue looked at the Phoenix King sympathetically as she continued, "What do you mean?" The Phoenix King was shocked, and her expression changed. God Lord Rhyme missed wishes to marry Feng Xiao. Of course, this can only be done in private. No matter what, this cannot be spread. Otherwise, it will have a significant impact on God Lord Rhyme Mist's reputation. You understand. Lung Ruoxue sighed softly and finally revealed her motive. When the Phoenix King heard this, his face turned even paler. Lung Ruoxue could even hear the sound of the Phoenix King gritting his teeth. The Peacock King could not help but move closer to his master's side. He was innocent, so she could not vent her anger on him. As the Peacock King secretly praised Lung Ruoxue, she had a new understanding of how powerful she was. Master is really too powerful. She can actually anger the Phoenix King to this extent. Look at the Phoenix King. How has her beautiful face become so twisted? He knew very well that Feng Xiao was the most favored male companion of the Phoenix King. However, the moment his master opened her mouth, she took him away. Wasn't this like stabbing a knife into the Phoenix King's heart? Right, it was for God Lord Fogripple. Thinking up to this point, the Peacock King felt some sympathy for the Phoenix King. Her most beloved male companion was about to be taken away, and she actually didn't know who was the one behind it. The great black pot of the rippling mist god lord was bound to be taken. This pair of sisters in trouble had been completely played by their master. He was really too pitiful. The Peacock King's pitiful glance was caught by the Phoenix King. To the Phoenix King, this was like a slap to her face. First, he lost the Peacock King, and now, the man he doted on the most had caught the eye of the mist. This was too much of a bully. By the way, didn't Wu Jing like Lord Yu? Why did she suddenly have ideas about her man? The moment this thought appeared in the Phoenix Prince's mind, she began to doubt Lung Ruoxue's words. She then asked, "The one God Lord Rhyme likes is obviously Lord Yu. How could she like Feng Xiao? This was impossible." That's true, but Lord Yu has been dead for so long, and God Lord Fogripple is a woman. She can't possibly guard Lord Yu for her entire life, right? She also needs a man to accompany her, and your family's Feng Xiao is somewhat similar to Lord Yu, so he naturally became the best candidate for Lord Rhyme. So, Phoenix King, You should just bear the pain and part with this treasure. Lung Ruoxue advised with a face full of sincerity. When the Phoenix King heard this, she could not help but roar in her heart. However, when he heard Lung Ruoxue say that Feng Xiu and Lord Yu were somewhat similar, the Phoenix King believed most of her words because it was the truth. This was also the main reason why she was unwilling to let Feng Xiu leave the Phoenix territory. To put it bluntly, she was also afraid that Feng Xiu would be fancied by someone. Seeing that the Phoenix Prince was silent for a long time and was immersed in her angry thoughts, Lung Ruoxue smiled and said, Phoenix King, I understand how you feel. However, the entire divine realm belongs to God Lord Fog Ripple. She only wants a man from you, so how can you refuse? You have so many male companions by your side. What did it matter if one was missing? It's rare for Lady Wu Jing to take a fancy to a man, so I suggest that you bear the pain and part with him. At most, in the future, if Lady Miss takes a fancy to someone in your family, it'll shield you. Is that not enough? Lung Ruoxue's negotiating tone and kind expression made the Phoenix King so angry that she almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Would he still take a fancy to her in the future? Are you done? After thinking for a while, the Phoenix King took a few deep breaths and said with a depressed expression, I can't give her Feng Xiu. Other than Feng Xiu, she can choose any man in the Feng clan. This was already the biggest concession she could make. Thanks, however, Lung Ruoxue wasn't that easy to dismiss. She looked at the Phoenix Prince with a troubled expression and said, Lady Rhyme has said that she only wants Feng Xiu and doesn't want anyone else. The Phoenix King was furious. He glared at Lung Ruoxue with his fiery eyes. He was so angry that he could not speak. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue appeased him calmly. Phoenix King, calm down. This was something that couldn't be helped. Who asked Feng Xiu to look the most like Master Yu? Could it be that there's someone in your Feng clan who looks like Master Yu? If the Phoenix clan can't find it, can't we look elsewhere? Feng Xiu is my man. The Phoenix King roared in anger. If I could find it elsewhere, would I still come to you for a man? Lord Wuchun was forced to do this. I hope you can understand. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. She could not understand. She only knew that this damn woman, Wu Yin, was snatching food from the Phoenix's mouth, and she couldn't do anything about it. Who asked the other party to be a divine master? If it was someone else, they probably wouldn't have such courage. Phoenix King, I've said so much. Give me an answer. It'll make it clear for the last time. Our Lady Fog, Ice only wants Feng Xiu. Don't you try to fool her with any random person. You have to know that she has seen Feng Xiu before. Lung Ruoxue saw that the Phoenix King still did not say anything, so she could only warn him again. Good. He'll pay. The Phoenix King suppressed his anger and shouted, Fuck, can I not give it? If they really fell out with that bitch, Wu Yin, wouldn't the Phoenix clan be the one to suffer? Although the Phoenix King looked down on Wu Yin, she was still rational. She knew that Wu Yan's current position in the divine realm was not something she could shake. She could only swallow this loss in silence. As expected of the Phoenix King. You're so straightforward. Lung Ruoxue praised with a smile. This smile made her disguised face look even uglier. Seeing Lien Wu's proud appearance, the Phoenix King really gritted her teeth in hatred. Finally, she couldn't bear it anymore and finally roared, Don't laugh, it's really ugly. She could not understand how such an ugly woman could exist in this world. She had the ripple mist as her backing, and he couldn't touch her. This was like having an enemy with a deep hatred right in front of him, but he couldn't take revenge. It was depressing enough. Phoenix King, I know that I'm ugly, but this is not my choice. How can you discriminate against me by my appearance? It'll be very sad if you do this. As Lung Ruoxue spoke, her eyes instantly turned resentful, which made the Phoenix King even angrier. Fuck, she should be sad, okay? 2 men were gone just like that. This was almost the same as taking half her life. However, this damned woman was still here to anger her. This was preposterous. The Phoenix King's anger had nowhere to vent, and her expression turned uglier and uglier. Lung Ruashua started to nag again. By the way, Phoenix King, I forgot to tell you. Don't ask Lady Rhyme about Fengxiu in person. She would never admit it. After all, this is not something to be proud of. Don't you think so? In addition, please keep my identity a secret. You should know that I can't see the light either, because I often do some shameful things for Lady Wu Chun. Therefore, Lady Wu Chun doesn't want anyone to know of my existence. Of course, I'm definitely not the one to be killed. Lady Rhyme Ice can't live without me. Lung Ruashua went on, adding onto her story. When the Phoenix King heard these words, his face turned even darker than the bottom of a pot. What the hell is this? You're not allowed to ask after doing it, and you don't allow people to say it? How could they bully people like this? Was she going to swallow this loss in silence? The Phoenix King was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Fuck, you really can't bully people like this. The Phoenix King had lived for so long, but he had never felt so aggrieved. Chapter 2395. So ugly. 2. The Phoenix King was burning with anger. At this moment, her last regret was why she had to come back. Wasn't this asking for it? She could have just left directly, but she couldn't get over it and wanted to come back and cause trouble for them. Who knew that she would be so angry and even cause Fengxiu to disappear? The more the Phoenix King thought about it, the angrier she got. She shouted goodbye and was about to leave. However, before she left, Lung Ruashua did not forget to remind her, Phoenix King, you have to send Fengxiu to the Peacock tribe in 3 days. They'll be waiting for him here. I know, the Phoenix King roared. After she finished speaking, she immediately disappeared. At the same time, she swore in her heart that she would never have the chance to see this Lian Wu again in this life. Otherwise, she could not guarantee that she would not kill this ugly monster. The Peacock King looked at the Phoenix King's back with sympathy. When he regained his senses, he looked at his master with even more admiration. He was really too amazing. She managed to get Fengxiu just like that. However, he was very curious. What did his master want a phoenix cultivator for? In any case, he wouldn't really give it to God Lord Mist Ripple. Out of curiosity, the Peacock King couldn't help but ask, Master, will the Phoenix King really send Fengxiu here? He didn't believe the Phoenix King's words. She didn't dare to not send me off, unless she wanted to fight against Fog head-on. The Phoenix clan is on the same boat as Wu Chun, so she wouldn't dare to offend Wu Chun. Lung Ruashua said, Master, aren't you afraid that Wu Yin and the Phoenix King will find out about this and come to find trouble with you? The Peacock King asked again. With his master's current strength, it would be difficult for him to deal with the Fog Ice and the Phoenix King. If I didn't do this, they wouldn't have found trouble with me? As the saying goes, one doesn't have to worry about debts. Since we can't coexist, then of course I have to give them some trouble. Lung Ruashua laughed evilly. That's true. When the Peacock King thought of Lung Ruashua's identity and the rumors from the God world, he naturally understood. This master of his was definitely a mortal enemy of Fog Ice. Little Peacock, tell your clansmen to pack up and leave with me. Lung Ruashua ordered when she saw that the Peacock King had finally understood. Master, where are we going? Peacock King asked. Of course you're coming back to the demonic land with me. However, before I leave, I still have to go to the Eagle clan and the Condor clan to draw some beasts. Lung Ruashua said calmly. Does this mean that other than the Peacock tribe, Master also has designs on the other beast tribes? Thinking up to this point, the Peacock King's heart felt more at ease. This was because as long as he thought about how he wouldn't be the only one to be taken away, he immediately felt that he had a companion. Oh, this feeling was really good. How rare it was to have familiar people in a strange place. The Peacock King quickly passed down the news. When the peacocks heard that they were moving, they were all at a loss. Although some of the Peacock King's confidants knew that the king had long wanted to leave the Phoenix territory, they did not expect that the king would really make up his mind to leave. However, have you chosen your territory? Moreover, they had not heard anything about it beforehand, which made the Peacock King's confidants feel incredulous. In the end, the Peacock King and Lung Ruashua had a discussion and decided to tell their clansmen the truth. When the peacocks heard the truth, They were petrified once again. Thanks their king had acknowledged Lung Ruoxue as his master. Was this a sign that the Peacock clan was opposing the Divine Master's estate? Knowing that their king had acknowledged her as his master to get rid of the Phoenix King, all the peacocks were speechless. However, since their king had already acknowledged her as his master, it seemed like there was nothing they could do to object. However, not all the peacocks chose to accept their fate. There was still a considerable number of peacocks who were unwilling to accept this fact. When Lung Ruoxue found out about this situation, she only said indifferently, "It's fine if you don't want to follow us, but you can only wait for death." The moment they heard that they were waiting for death, the peacocks, who did not want to resign themselves to their fate, turned pale with fright. They knew that Lung Ruoxue was not joking. Now that they knew of such a secret, it would be difficult for them to live. But they didn't want to die. He looked at the Peacock King for help. However, the Peacock King acted as if he didn't see him and ignored him. In fact, the Peacock King was well aware that his master was just making it sound violent and bloody. In fact, he was just scaring them. Of course, if they really wanted to die, he wouldn't be able to stop them. Who asked him to have already recognized a master? Quickly decide. Don't look at the Peacock King anymore. He's my beastie now and can't help you. Lung Ruoxue saw that after a threat, some of the unwilling peacocks didn't even dare to make a sound, so she could only urge them. "I'll only give you 1 hour to think." Lung Ruoxue added. In the last 5 minutes, the peacocks that were unwilling to acknowledge their master all gave in one by one. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she really wanted to scold them for being so cheap. Why didn't he have any self-awareness? Even though she was a little angry, Lung Ruoxue was still satisfied with the final outcome. After all, it was a happy ending. After resolving the small issue with the peacock tribe, the resigned peacocks began to pack their things. In just one day, the peacock tribe's territory was completely clean. The next day, the Phoenix King sent someone to deliver Feng Xiu. When Lung Ruoxue saw Feng Xiu for the first time, she couldn't help but sigh. The human form that Feng Xiu had transformed into was indeed a rare, beautiful man. Furthermore, it was just as Song had said, he was similar to her master. However, on Feng Xiu's face, there was a faint trace of sorrow. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue naturally had to show some concern and asked, "What? You can't bear to leave the Phoenix King?" "No, I just can't bear to leave my family." Feng Xiu replied honestly. "That's easy. Just ask the Phoenix King to send your family over." Lung Ruoxue replied without even thinking. "Can I?" Feng Xiu's eyes immediately lit up, and a look of joy flashed across his face. What's wrong with that? The Phoenix King wouldn't dare to refute Lord Rhyme Ice's face. Lung Ruoxue said confidently. Then, she found a small peacock to pass on a message for the Phoenix King to bring Feng Xiu's family over. When Little Peacock, who had been captured as a coolie, heard such a rumor, she immediately revered Lung Ruoxue with 120,000 points of worship. Master is really too amazing. He had thought that he had only kidnapped a phoenix, but now he even wanted to capture her entire family. Little Peacock's eyes were red as she stared at Lung Ruoxue with bright eyes. She was so excited that she was incoherent. She could only nod her head continuously to show that she understood. Then, the little peacock anxiously went to be its master's messenger. After the little peacock flew away, the Peacock King looked at his master and then at Feng Xiu. He remained silent. He really didn't know what to say, but he was sure that when the Phoenix King received this news, she would definitely be furious. Chapter 2396, So Ugly 3. As expected, when the little peacock returned, she said to Lung Ruoxue with a sad face, "Your Excellency, the Phoenix King not only refused, but also wanted to send people to kill me. Fortunately, I ran away quickly. Otherwise, you would not be able to see me." The little peacock felt very wronged. Didn't humans always say that when two sides went to war, they would not kill the envoys? Why did a messenger, have to be so frightened? Looking at the little peacock's aggrieved expression, Lung Ruoxue patted its head to comfort it. "Don't worry, they'll take revenge for you." When little peacock heard this, she immediately broke into a smile. When Feng Xiu heard Lung Ruoxu's words, he said with a face of disappointment, "My lord, forget it. I knew that the Phoenix King would not allow me to take my clansmen away." Oomph. Would it work if she did not allow it? I'm here to represent God, Lord Fog Ripple, to ask her for the person. Would she dare to refuse? Lung Ruoxue raised her voice and shouted. Hearing these words, the Peacock King and the other peacocks couldn't help but have black lines on their foreheads. They thought to themselves, Master seems to be getting more and more into her role. Could it be that she really thinks of me as Rhyme, Ice's advisor? However, at this moment, they couldn't drag their master down and destroy her stage. Thus, all the peacocks immediately echoed, Lung Ruoxue, my lord is right. Let's go find the Phoenix King and ask for her. If she doesn't give us the girl, we'll report it to God, Lord Fog Ripple. The peacocks quickly got into their role-play mode and really thought of themselves as people from Rhyme. Seeing them like this, Lung Ruoxue broke out in a cold sweat. She truly felt that she had led these innocent peacocks astray. What should she do now? However, using the name of Fog City's advisor to do these things was indeed more brutal than being hidden. Lung Ruoxue suddenly felt a little regretful. Why didn't she think of using Wu Cheng's name when she was in the territories of the White Tiger race and Dragon race? If that really happened, Ripple Mist would be in a terrible fix. He really regretted it. Lung Ruoxue let out a long sigh, causing the peacocks to be confused. What's wrong with Master? The peacocks present couldn't help but think to themselves. After a moment of regret, Lung Ruoxue's aura rose again, and she shouted, Everyone, come with me to the Feng clan. We'll help Feng Xiu get his family back. All right. The peacocks responded enthusiastically. Feng Xiu, who saw this scene, had mixed feelings in his heart. His nose also felt sour, and an inexplicable liquid welled up in his clear, dark red eyes. He was touched. He had never known that the peacock tribe was so passionate and loyal. Even if she knew that she would offend the Phoenix King, she still had to help him. In that instant, Feng Xiu's impression of the peacock tribe changed. In the past, the peacock tribe was just a vassal of the Phoenix tribe in his eyes. Their status was equivalent to the servants of the Phoenix tribe. However, in his heart, the peacock tribe's status had risen greatly, and they were now his trusted friends. At the thought of this, Feng Xiu said with some embarrassment, The Phoenix King is very powerful. If she really doesn't want to take my family away, then forget it. Don't go head-to-head with her, you'll get hurt. As soon as Feng Xiu said this, all the peacocks couldn't help but widen their eyes. Their faces were full of disbelief. Was this the rhythm of him showing concern for them? Sob, they were so touched. Don't worry, it'll definitely help you bring your family out. Lung Ruoxue promised. That's right. With my lord here, she will definitely help you. The peacocks all agreed excitedly. Seeing that they were so confident, Feng Xiu was also excited and kept saying, Thank you. Following that, with a peacock leading the way, Lung Ruoxue led a large group of peacocks and Feng Xiu towards the Phoenix clan's encampment in a grand manner. When they arrived at the entrance of the Phoenix clan's encampment, the guard was surprised to see Feng Xiu. He couldn't help but ask, Feng Xiu, why are you back again? I want to see the Phoenix King. Feng Xiu said, Oh, wait a moment. The guard was very friendly and went in to report. As for Lung Ruoxue and the others who were accompanying it, they were completely ignored. Not long after, the guard returned and looked at Feng Xiu helplessly. Feng Xiu, the Phoenix King said that he doesn't want to see you. You'd better leave the Phoenix territory as soon as possible. If you don't want to see him, then come see me. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue spoke. Who are you? The guard asked curiously. Thanks, I'm the advisor of Lord Rhyme Ice. Lung Ruoxue shouted. Then, she took out the blood-red token and waved it in front of the guard. The aura that was released from the token caused the guard to freeze for a moment. Then the guard stuttered, Wait a minute, I'll go and report. Although the guard had never seen this token before, the aura from it could not be faked. The aura it exuded was even stronger than the Phoenix King's. Therefore, it did not dare to neglect it. At this time, The Phoenix King was in his own palace, enjoying the service of a beautiful man. After receiving the continuous reports from the guards, a trace of impatience appeared on the Phoenix King's face. How detestable! How dare they come to the Phoenix clan's territory to bully us? This was preposterous. Couldn't he just let her recuperate her mood? She really didn't want to see that Lien Wu. However, the other party had taken the initiative to come to his door. She couldn't hit, scold, or kill him. Your Majesty, why don't we have the guards tell Lien Wu that you're not here? Seeing that the Phoenix King's expression was ugly and he was in a bad mood, a beautiful waiter couldn't help but try to please him. Pig brain, do you think she's an idiot? When the Phoenix King heard this, she cursed angrily. She had just said that she didn't want to see Feng Xiao, and now she said that he wasn't here. Wasn't she slapping her own face? Which fool would believe such a lie? How low was his IQ? But the king doesn't want to see her. The waiter said, feeling wronged. Of course I don't want to see her. However, she is one of Wu Lian's people. If I really don't see her, she will run to Wu Lian and complain about me to that bitch. Wu Lian, that narrow-minded woman, will definitely bear a grudge against me for looking at her disdainfully. If Wu Lian really does something to hinder our Feng clan, won't we be the unlucky ones? The Phoenix King touched the beautiful waiter's face and teased him. Then meet her, the waiter asked carefully. Let her in. The Phoenix King turned around and ordered the guards of the Phoenix clan. The guard acknowledged and left to inform Lung Ruoxue and the rest. With the Phoenix King's permission, Lung Ruoxue led the Peacock Kings and swaggered into the Phoenix clan's territory, heading straight for the Phoenix King's chamber. As they walked, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but sigh at Feng Xiao. Your Phoenix clan's territory sure is extravagant. Logically, phoenixes lived on parasol trees, and phoenixes should like parasol trees the most. However, on their way here, they saw that many parasol trees had become decorations. The residence of the Phoenix tribe was decorated with golden walls that were shining brightly. They were definitely not made of wood. We only use the parasol tree when we are cultivating. We usually stay in our favorite houses. Lung Ruoxue's words made Feng Xiao feel a little embarrassed. The current Phoenix clan was indeed not as simple and honest as before. There were more clansmen who liked to enjoy life. Many of the Phoenix's residences were modeled after the residences of humans, and they were all built to be rich and beautiful. You're obviously birds, and living on trees is in line with the laws of nature, but you just have to be human-like, and the result is that you're not even the same. You don't think that just because you've built a house with golden walls like a palace, you can show off your wealth, do you? Lung Ruoxue mocked. Feng Xiao was speechless. It seemed that this Lord Lien Wu had a lot of opinions about the Feng clan. In reality, the reason why Lung Ruoxue could not stand the Phoenix clan's extravagance was because she thought about the situation of Feng Zhan, and the other phoenixes. Those old phoenixes lived such simple lives in the lower realm. However, looking at the Phoenix clan in the divine realm, this place was simply, especially when they arrived at the royal chamber of the Phoenix King. Lung Ruoxue was even more displeased. Even Feng Zhan and the other old phoenixes in the bracelet were so angry that they were trembling when they saw the royal chamber. Listening to the old phoenix in the bangle blabbering away like a boiling pot, Lung Ruoxue quickly comforted him. But Feng Zhan couldn't take it anymore and complained, detestable. It was really too detestable. Our king's parasol tree has been growing for tens of thousands of years and even produced the spirit of the parasol tree. But now the palace of the Phoenix King. Were these things? What about the Wutong tree? Where did he go? Don't worry. We'll help you ask around later. Lung Ruoxue listened to the old phoenix's complaints in her heart and quickly replied, Yes, we must get that tree. That tree is much better than the parasol trees in our lower realm. All the parasol trees in our divine realm are its descendants. Feng Zhan said with a look of regret. He felt that even if the current Phoenix King was a prodigal, it shouldn't be enough to destroy that old tree, right? But without seeing the old tree with his own eyes, he couldn't put his heart at ease. They'll think of a way. Lung Ruoxue promised. There were 3 big words on the door of the Royal Phoenix's chamber, Royal Phoenix Palace. Lung Ruoxue glanced at Feng Xiu before pushing the door open and entering. As soon as she entered the door, she saw the Phoenix King sitting on the throne, holding an extremely charming young man in his arms. The ambiguous atmosphere between the two flowed in the huge palace. Feng Xiu also saw this scene and lowered his head in embarrassment. When the Phoenix King saw Feng Xiu's expression, she was extremely pleased with herself because she thought that Feng Xiu's expression was that of jealousy. Lung Ruoxue surveyed the entire Royal Phoenix Palace. Just as she was about to speak, she heard a cry of surprise. Arg! It's so ugly. Chapter 2397 Feng Luo's Choice 1. This cry was like a sudden clap of thunder, ringing in their ears. Feng Xiu's heart trembled in fear, and he couldn't help but look at Lung Ruoxue. He was afraid that this woman would suddenly fly into a rage. At that time, the innocent clansmen of the Phoenix clan would be in trouble. However, Lung Ruoxue wasn't as angry as he thought she would be. After hearing his words, she only smiled faintly and said, "I'm pretty ugly, but no matter how ugly I am still better than you, who's neither a man nor a woman. Look at you, what do you look like? Do you still have any manliness? You're actually sitting in a woman's arms. You're just short of hanging the word boy toy on your body." Lung Ruoxue's words were vicious, especially to a man. It was enough to hurt their self-esteem. The man in the Phoenix King's arms was also a phoenix. When he heard her words, he was so angry that he almost went crazy. However, under the Phoenix King's comforting gaze, the man instantly became well-behaved and looked at the Phoenix King with an aggrieved expression. He said coquettishly, "Your Majesty, this woman is bullying me. You have to help me take revenge. You think she can help you? I am the advisor of God, Lord Rhyme Mist. If she dares to touch a single hair on my head, Lord Rhyme Mist will not let her off. At that time, your male beast will probably be the first to suffer." Without giving the Phoenix Prince a chance to reply, Lung Ruoxue beat him to it. Her words instantly angered the Phoenix Prince and her male pet to the point that they were trembling all over. The blood in their bodies rushed to their heads, causing their brains to buzz and make them dizzy. The two of them even forgot to react and could only stare stupidly at Lung Ruoxue. When Feng Xiu saw this scene, he couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. He thought to himself, "This Lord Lian Wu is really too powerful." With just a few words, he made the Phoenix King and Feng Yu so angry that they lost their bearings. "AI." Feng Xiu sighed softly. Based on the current situation, he might really be able to get his family out. Feng Xiu's mood brightened at the thought of this. However, the Phoenix Prince and the man in her arms Feng Yu were in a terrible mood. Apart from glaring at Lung Ruoxue, they did not know how to react, especially the Phoenix Prince. When she saw Lung Ruoxue's chubby hand tossing the blood-red token up and down, she could not help but squint her eyes and almost suffocate. Fuck, this is really infuriating, don't you think? Originally, she had suffered a lot in the Peacock tribe. She thought that she could do whatever she wanted after returning to her own tribe. But she didn't expect that after returning to her own Phoenix tribe, she still couldn't get rid of the fog and could still see this ugly monster. This fact was a huge blow to the proud Phoenix King. Right now, what she hoped for the most was that the fog would immediately disappear in front of her. Otherwise, she could not guarantee what she would do. And with that eyesore token, if she wanted to touch this fog, she really had to consider the consequences. How detestable! How detestable! How detestable! The Phoenix King kept on cursing in her heart, but Lung Ruoxue just kept on appearing in front of her. This scene almost made the Phoenix King cry. After living for so many years, when had she ever suffered such grievances? Even when the previous Phoenix King was still in power, he did not dare to make her feel so aggrieved. But now, with Lung Ruoxue, she seemed to have gotten back all the grievances that she had not suffered for so many years. Fuck, why don't you just let this woman die? The Phoenix King was roaring in her heart, while Lung Ruoxue looked at the Phoenix King with a smile. The Phoenix King was so angry that she almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing that the Phoenix King's expression was turning uglier by the second, Lung Ruoxue consoled him kindly. Phoenix King, calm down. Anger is bad for your health. If anything happens to you, your male companions will be taken advantage of by others. Don't you agree? Thanks, it's my ass. The Phoenix King glared at Lung Ruoxue furiously. However, Lung Ruoxue acted as if she did not see it and started to size up Feng Yu again. This guy was really neither male nor female. He was clearly a male, but he was so charming. It turned out that the Phoenix King liked this type. It was no wonder that she had her eyes on the Peacock King. However, the Phoenix King's taste was also considered heavy. It was because this guy in front of her was obviously not the same as the Peacock King. The Peacock King was just a small bottom, but this guy could be called a transvestite. That's right, there's still Feng Xiu. Feng Xiu looked like a gentle and handsome man. When Lung Ruoxue thought about it, she suddenly realized that not only was the Phoenix King a glutton, but he was also an omnivore. Under Lung Ruoxue's beautiful gaze, Feng Xiu felt a cold breeze on his back. He deeply felt that Lord Lien Wu's gaze seemed to be able to see through a person's heart. It was too terrifying, right? As for Feng Yu, when he felt Lung Ruoxue's gaze on him, his little heart could not help but tremble. He was very afraid that this ugly woman would also take a fancy to him. If she were to ask the Phoenix King for him, he would rather die. With this thought in mind, Feng Yu couldn't help but burrow into the Phoenix King's arms to seek protection. The Phoenix King could sense the fear in Feng Yu's heart and hugged her tightly to comfort her. Then, he glared at Lung Ruoxue with his eyes that were spitting fire. The meaning behind his words was as if he was saying, "Don't you dare have any ideas about my man." However, in the face of the Phoenix King's warning, Lung Ruoxue continued to look at them with a smile. In the end, the Phoenix King couldn't take it anymore. She finally suppressed her anger and roared, "Damn it! What exactly do you want to see me for? If you have something to say, then say it. Phoenix King, you're a great beauty. How can you speak so rudely?" When Lung Ruoxue heard the Phoenix King's words, she said with a look of disapproval. However, the Phoenix King only rolled his eyes at her and did not look at her again. Lung Ruoxue was helpless. After sighing, she said, "I naturally have serious business to discuss with you." "What serious business?" Upon hearing this, the Phoenix King was alarmed. "I want a few phoenixes from you," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "No, I didn't tea." The Phoenix King refused without even thinking about it. However, he couldn't help but curse in his heart. After taking Feng Xiu away, he still wanted the Phoenix. Did he really think that she, the Phoenix King, was easy to bully? Wait a minute. He wanted a few phoenixes. Could it be for the sake of phoenix cultivation? The Phoenix King knew that Feng Xiu wanted to leave with his family, but she rejected him. What a joke. Without Feng Xiu, she had to keep Feng Luo no matter what. Although that little guy was still young, he was like a second Feng Xiu. She still wanted to keep that little thing in case she missed him. How could he allow Feng Xiu to take him away? However, she had never dreamed that Lien Wu would actually stand up for Feng Xiu. Could it be that the damned Lien Wu really had the support of the Ripple of Mist and wasn't afraid of offending him at all? The more the Phoenix King thought about it, the angrier he got. His expression also gradually turned ugly. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she could only try to persuade him. "Phoenix King, don't be so emotional. You should know that in the future, Feng Xiu will be Lord Wu Xian's man, and his status will definitely not be below yours. Moreover, he can also give pillow talk to Lord Wu Xian, and when Lord Wu Xian is angry and makes things difficult for your Feng clan, you'll be the one who regrets it." Chapter 2398. Feng Luo's Choice 2. Pillow Talk? Would you? Don't forget that you're a member of the Phoenix clan. Even though you've left the clan, you're still a member of the clan when you're alive and a ghost of the clan when you die. Do you dare to let the Feng clan down? After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the Phoenix King glanced at Feng Xiu and roared at him angrily. She didn't believe that Feng Xiu would have the guts to do so. Moreover, based on her understanding of Feng Xiu, she knew that he wasn't someone who liked to spread pillow talk. Otherwise, no one in the Feng clan would dare to bully Feng Xiu. Faced with the Phoenix King's warning, Feng Xiu smiled bitterly. Then, under Lung Ruoxu's encouraging gaze, he said, "Your Majesty, of course I won't do anything to let the Feng clan down. However, I also want to take my family with me. My parents' strength isn't high, and my brother is young. If they stay with the Feng clan, they will only drag the clan down. I'm afraid that I won't have the chance to return to the Feng clan in the future. So, I hope that I can take them with me and take care of them. I hope your Majesty can grant me my wish. You can take my parents with you, but Feng Luo has to stay in the Feng clan. After all, he is the future hope of the Feng clan. The Feng clan will definitely take good care of him." The Phoenix King said after thinking for a while. She knew very well that if she didn't let Feng Xiu take one away today, Lien Wu would definitely not let it go. If she continued to see this woman, she was afraid that she would be angered to death, so she chose to compromise. Unfortunately, the Phoenix King's compromise caused Feng Xiu's expression to change. Although Feng Xiu knew that this was the possible outcome, he still found it difficult to accept it when he was actually facing it. In his heart, he must take his parents away, but he must also take his younger brother. He could not leave his young brother under the protection of tigers and wolves. At the thought of this, Feng Xiu sent a voice transmission to Lung Ruoxiu anxiously. "Lord Lien Wu, please help me get my little brother. I can't leave my little brother here. I don't want him to become the second me." Although Feng Xiu's words were very subtle, Lung Ruoxiu already understood what he meant. After giving him a comforting look, Lung Ruoxiu smiled at the Phoenix Prince and said, "Your Highness, what you're doing is not very fair, is it? How could you break up a family of 4? It was very immoral to destroy someone's family. So, I can't agree with your idea. That little phoenix called Feng Luo must leave with us. No, Feng Luo belongs to our Feng clan. He must stay in the Feng clan," the Phoenix King said firmly, leaving no room for discussion. "That Feng Xiu is still a member of your Phoenix clan. Don't tell me you want to keep him here?" Lung Ruoxiu said with a hint of mockery. "You," the Phoenix King choked. He was so angry that he couldn't say anything. After a while, when he calmed down, the Phoenix King put on a look of him doing this for his own good and said, "Feng Luo's aptitude isn't bad. Only by staying in the Phoenix clan can his own aptitude receive the best cultivation. And the little phoenixes are the hope of our Phoenix clan. So, I will not allow them to wander outside and not get the best education." The Phoenix Prince's words were spoken in a righteous manner. It was as if Lung Ruoxiu's insistence would harm Feng Luo. However, Lung Ruoxiu wasn't so easily moved by her. When Feng Xiu heard this, he was so anxious that his forehead was covered in sweat. "Phoenix King, you're overthinking it. Feng Luo has followed our Lord Wuli, and Lord Wuli will definitely do her best to cultivate him. Would she mistreat him?" Lung Ruoxiu continued to convince him. "Nurture? How did God Lord Fogripple nurture our Phoenix clan's little phoenix? Did she have a parasol tree? The Phoenix clan's cultivation can't be done without the parasol tree. Therefore, it's best for Feng Luo to stay in the Phoenix clan," the Phoenix King said matter-of-factly. Hearing the Phoenix King mention the parasol tree, Lung Ruoxiu laughed and said nonchalantly, "It's just a parasol tree. Phoenix King, why don't you just give me a few? Thanks, can you grow it? The sycamore trees can only survive in places with dense fire attribute energy. Is there such a place in the Imperial City?" The Phoenix King laughed coldly, but he was quite angry in his heart. It was fine if they wanted to abduct the Phoenix from her clan, but she would endure it. Now, he was not even willing to let go of the sycamore tree. This was really too much. Even plucking feathers from a goose shouldn't be done like this. "There's nothing to find, so I'm asking if you'll give it to me or not," Lung Ruoxiu said with a smile. "I want tea." The Phoenix King gritted his teeth and said, "Not giving? All right, then I won't leave. He'll take Feng Xiu's family and live in your Phoenix territory for a long time. At that time, if Lady Fog Ice asks about this matter because I can't see Feng Xiu, I can only tell the truth." Lung Ruoxiu said like a rascal. "You." The Phoenix King was so infuriated by Lung Ruoxiu's words that her face turned blacker than the bottom of a pot. She pointed her trembling finger at Lung Ruoxiu, unable to complete her sentence. Feng Xiu saw that the usually beautiful and noble Phoenix King had been angered to this extent by the rascal Lord Lien Wu, and couldn't help but feel a trace of sympathy for her. Moreover, the gentle Feng Xiu didn't expect Lord Lien Wu to be so good at angering people. The Phoenix King was probably going to be angered to death. Phoenix King, what do you think of my suggestion? Lung Ruoxue felt that the Phoenix King had not been angered enough, so she asked. Not much. After a long time, the Phoenix King gritted her teeth and replied with a dark face. Since it's nothing much, then give me the person and the tree I want. Otherwise, it'll really live here. At that time, it'll also bring the Peacock clan in, eat your food, live in your place, and order your Phoenix clan to serve me. Perhaps you like that? Lung Ruoxue's smile was extremely evil. Coupled with her current ugly face and her rascal-like appearance, everyone present, except Feng Xiu, hated her to the core. Why you're forcing me to do this? The Phoenix King was so angry that it was panting heavily. Its fiery eyes glared furiously at Lung Ruoxue. If looks could kill, Lung Ruoxue would have died 1,000 times over. However, Lung Ruoxue wasn't afraid of her. She smiled faintly and said, I can't say awesome. I only hope that the Phoenix King can make a wise choice and give me the man and the tree, and I promise not to disturb you again. How about it? You're serious? The Phoenix King squinted her beautiful eyes that were spitting fire and asked in disbelief. Yes, I promise. It wasn't fake at all. Phoenix King, I've always been a trustworthy person, so you should believe me. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Believe your ass. The Phoenix King cursed in her heart. If she could trust this extremely shameless human in front of her, where would the sun come from? Since Lord Wu insists, it's not like I can't agree to your conditions, but I can't guarantee that Feng Luo will be willing to leave with you. You have to know, that little fellow is full of ideas. Since Prince Feng has said so, why don't you call Feng Luo over and I'll ask him personally? Lung Ruoxue said, as per the Phoenix King's wishes. She already knew the Phoenix King's motive. He wanted her to hear with her own ears that Feng Luo was not willing to leave with them so that she would give up. However, the self-righteous Phoenix King had to go in such a big circle. Even Lung Ruoxue was exhausted on his behalf. Chapter 2399, Feng Luo's Choice 3. Good. Someone, go and call Feng Luo over. The moment the Phoenix King heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he was overjoyed and quickly ordered the guards outside the door. After the guard received the order and left, a trace of worry rose in Feng Xiu's heart. Because with his understanding of the Phoenix King, he knew that the Phoenix King wouldn't do something he wasn't confident in. So, he was very afraid that the Phoenix King had already warned Feng Luo. When that time came, without giving Feng Xiu much time to let his thoughts run wild, Feng Luo was brought to the Royal Phoenix Palace. Lung Ruoxue looked at the little boy in front of her, then looked at Feng Xiu. She was even more certain. This Feng Luo, after his transformation, looked only about 13 or 14 years old. He looked very cute and very likable. Red lips, white teeth, pink and tender. No wonder the old granny, the Phoenix King, was so unwilling to let her take Feng Luo away. The current Feng Luo was just like a little Feng Xiu. It would be a wonder if the old witch, the Phoenix King, would be willing to let him go. However, after meeting Feng Luo, Lung Ruoxue was even more determined to bring this little fellow away. She would never let such a tender little thing fall into the hands of that old woman, the Phoenix King. With this thought in mind, Lung Ruoxue did not wait for the Phoenix Prince to speak and asked directly, Feng Luo, right? I've decided to take your entire family away from the Feng clan. Are you willing to leave with me? Feng Luo, you'd better think this through. She's going to give Feng Xiu to God Lord Rhyme. When you grow up, you might be fancied by that woman, Rhyme, and become her exclusive property. If you stay in the Phoenix clan, I promise that I will do my best to cultivate you. So, you can make your own choice. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue had spoken before her, the Phoenix King was not to be outdone. Your Highness, look at what you're saying. How can you be sure that Lady Mist will also like Feng Luo? Don't scare this little guy. Lung Ruoxue was speechless after hearing the Phoenix King's words. The Phoenix King's words were definitely a threat and a warning. The little boy was so frightened that his face immediately turned pale. Actually, Feng Luo wasn't really scared. He just thought, why am I so unlucky? It was either that he would be fancied by God, Lord Mist Ripple, or that he would become the Phoenix King's exclusive property. He didn't like either of the two choices, even if they were the two most powerful women in the divine realm. He had his own dreams and expectations. One day, he wanted to become a top expert and look down on the entire Phoenix clan so that no one would dare to bully his family. He wanted to protect his brother even more. Thinking of her brother, Feng Luo's eyes were a little wet. At the same time, a sudden hatred for the Phoenix King welled up in her heart. If it wasn't for the Phoenix King, her brother wouldn't have been given away as a gift. And if it wasn't for her family, her brother wouldn't have been humiliated to become one of the men of the Phoenix King. All of this was because of that lecherous old woman, the Phoenix King. Feeling the concern in his brother's eyes, Feng Luo instantly made a decision. He asked Lung Ruoxue with uncertainty, "Can I take my parents with me?" "Of course. If there's anyone else you want to take with you, you can also tell me. I believe that the Phoenix King will not be stingy, right?" "The Phoenix King?" Lung Ruoxue laughed indifferently, not minding using the Phoenix King as a favor. "Yes." The Phoenix King gritted his teeth. He was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. "Then I agree to leave with you. However, you have to promise that our family will be together," Feng Luo said immediately after getting the guarantee. "No problem," he said. Lung Ruoxue gave Feng Luo a look that said, "Your choice is wise," and said with satisfaction. When Feng Xiu heard Feng Luo's reply, he heaved a sigh of relief. Their whole family could finally not be separated. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue turned to the Phoenix King and said, "Phoenix King, the little guy has already made his choice. You won't go back on your word, will you?" "Thanks, I won tea." The Phoenix King secretly hated her. However, she had already said what she wanted to say. If she really went back on her words, she would anger this ugly woman. If she said something in front of that damn woman, Wu Yin, she would be the one in trouble. The Phoenix King wasn't stupid. She knew what was the most beneficial to her. Therefore, even if she was unwilling, she could only swallow it down. This silent loss made her want to buy a piece of tofu and kill herself. It was really too sullen, wasn't it? I knew that the Phoenix King is a man of his word. All right, the Phoenix King must not forget the sycamore tree that you promised me. Lung Ruoxue first praised the Phoenix King, but she did not forget to remind her. "I can't forget." The Phoenix King roared in anger. Then, she reminded him with a hint of pride, "Lord Lianwu, don't blame me for not reminding you. The parasol trees in our Phoenix territory are all spiritual. They will choose their own master. So, if no tree takes a fancy to you, then I can only regretfully tell you that you might not be able to take a single parasol tree with you. There's such a thing." Lung Ruoxue pretended to be surprised, but she couldn't help but laugh in her heart. It was just a few sycamore trees. What was so difficult about it? Back then, even the parasol tree on Haotian continent had taken the initiative to surrender. She believed that the will of the parasol tree in the divine realm would not be that strong either. Although Lung Ruoxue did not think that taking away a few parasol trees was a big deal, Feng Xiu could not help but frown when he heard this. He knew that the Phoenix King was not lying. The parasol trees in the Phoenix territory were indeed not easy to deal with, especially those parasol trees that had been growing for many years. They were not willing to let them cultivate on them. Those trees would rather wither and die than accept them. Therefore, the parasol trees that the Phoenix tribe members had chosen could only be those that were newly born and not yet very intelligent. Even if the trees were unwilling, they couldn't reject them. However, the cultivation speed of the Phoenix tribe's clansmen was naturally much slower. However, Lung Ruoxue was completely unaware of Feng Xiu's worries. More importantly, even if she knew, she would not have taken it seriously. When the Phoenix King saw how surprised Lung Ruoxue was, he naturally had to tell her, an outsider, about the parasol tree. After making up her words, the Phoenix King slowly opened her mouth and said, "Yes, I have to start from many years ago. Back then, our Phoenix tribe had a mother parasol tree. Now, all the parasol trees in the Phoenix tribe can be said to have been produced by that mother tree. However, for some unknown reason, the mother parasol tree suddenly withered and died. Other than being sad, the other parasol trees also had some enmity with our Phoenix tribe. They didn't like us in any way and didn't want us to cultivate on the parasol trees. Without us, the parasol trees naturally wouldn't benefit. So, up until now, there are fewer and fewer parasol trees that can produce intelligence. This is definitely a great disaster for our Phoenix clan. It's a pity that those parasol trees still don't know how to repent and refuse to let us in, causing both of us to suffer losses and greatly reducing the strength of our Phoenix tribe. Therefore, I really don't think that you can take away the parasol trees. Those trees, especially those that have developed intelligence, are all very stubborn. Of course, if you insist on trying, I won't stop you, but I can't guarantee how many you can bring." As the Phoenix King spoke, his words became more and more sincere. However, in Lung Ruakshu's eyes, even though the Phoenix King's words were most likely true, this old hag's earlier warning was probably just to see her make a fool of herself. However, her jokes weren't that good. Following that, Lung Ruashue continued, "Man proposes, God disposes. If I can really take a few parasol trees with me, I hope the Phoenix King won't feel heartache." She wanted to say the ugly words in front of him so that Shifengwang wouldn't go back on his words. Who knew that when the Phoenix King heard Lung Ruakshu's words, he would reply without hesitation, "As long as a parasol tree is willing to leave with you, I promise I won't stop you." How is it? If all the Phoenix trees in your Phoenix territory want to come with me, won't you stop them? Lung Ruashua blinked her eyes as she confirmed, "Of course. If you have the ability, then go ahead and try." After hearing this, the Phoenix King laughed proudly because she didn't believe that the ugly woman in front of her had such an ability. The parasol tree was not an ordinary tree. Among all plants, the parasol tree was one of the top connate spirit trees. It was very spiritual and not something that humans could take away. Moreover, the Phoenix King truly felt that the Phoenix tribe was completely helpless against the Phoenix tree, let alone a human. How could the Wutong tree give her face? Wasn't that a fool's dream? It was precisely because of this thought that the Phoenix King happily ordered for Lung Ruashue to be brought to the parasol tree forest. However, before they left, Lung Ruashue gave the Phoenix King a look of disbelief and even wanted the Phoenix King to make an oath that if she could really take the parasol tree away, the Phoenix King would not go back on her words. When the Phoenix King heard this, her eyes instantly widened again. She really thought that she was hallucinating. This human actually dared to doubt her words. He was really too despicable. However, the Phoenix King thought about it. That damned Lien Wu had done too many evil things. It seemed like he didn't care about doing one more thing. Moreover, she didn't think that Lung Ruashue would be able to take the parasol tree away. With this thought in mind, she calmed down. She even felt that a casual oath wouldn't have much of an impact. Chapter 2400. Are you even human? 1. As she wanted to get rid of Lung Ruashue as soon as possible, the Phoenix King instantly figured out. It was just an oath. She didn't think that the so-called oath would have much effect on her because she understood the parasol trees too well. Those parasol trees that were equally detestable to her would never give in to Lung Ruakshu's words. The confident Phoenix King quickly made an oath, indicating that if Lord Wu could really take all the parasol trees away, she would not go back on her word. After obtaining the Phoenix King's promise, Lung Ruashue was satisfied. She then followed the person the Phoenix King had assigned to her and headed to the Parasol Tree Forest in high spirits. The Parasol Tree Forest was located in the most secretive mountain behind the Phoenix territory. At this moment, there was not a single phoenix there. The entire forest was so quiet that not a single sound could be heard. The parasol trees were also very quiet. They did not pay much attention to the arrival of Lung Ruashue and the others. On the other hand, Once Feng Luo arrived at the parasol tree forest, he was like a bird returning to the forest. He ran happily to an extremely small tree and gently stroked the trunk of the little parasol tree with a gentle face. Xiaotong, I'm about to leave the Phoenix territory. Are you willing to leave with me? Xiaotong? When she heard the name Feng Luo had given the parasol tree, Lung Ruoxua broke out in a cold sweat. It seemed that Feng Luo was just like her, a little incompetent at naming things. Following that, Lung Ruoxua saw the small tree, which had been quiet all this while, shake its branches gently, indicating that it was willing to leave with Feng Luo. Upon seeing this, Lung Ruoxua couldn't help but ask Feng Xiu softly, "Has this little tree developed its own intelligence?" "No, I didn't. However, we phoenixes can communicate with the parasol tree, and the younger the parasol tree is, the purer its mind is. Relatively speaking, it will be easier for it to accept us." Feng Xiu explained with a helpless expression. "So that's how it is. Then which parasol tree do you usually cultivate on? Do you want to take them with you?" Lung Ruoxua asked again after hearing this. "No need. My parasol tree has a very unique personality. It will not be willing to leave with me." Feng Xiu's tone suddenly became a little sad as he spoke. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, her curiosity was piqued once more. She could not help but ask, "Since it's willing to accept your cultivation, doesn't that mean that the Wutong tree has already accepted you? Why are you still unwilling to leave with you?" She really could not understand the logic of this little phoenix. "It didn't accept me. We just took what we needed. Therefore, even if those young parasol trees don't want to accept us, they won't reject us easily. But it's too difficult to get their approval." Feng Xiu said a little desolatedly. How he wished he could have his own parasol tree. However, not every phoenix was as lucky as Feng Luo. This was because Feng Luo's parasol tree had truly accepted him. Naturally, he would be willing to leave with Feng Luo. However, when he thought of the parasol tree that he often cultivated on, he didn't have the courage to ask. "I see. Then which parasol tree are you cultivating? I'll help you ask." Lung Ruoxua could see Feng Xiu's dilemma and spoke out loyally. Actually, she mainly felt that this pair of brothers and their parents were going to be her beastie very soon. Of course, she had to help. She just didn't know if that parasol tree would give her face. After hearing Lung Ruoxua's words, Feng Xiu's heart was filled with warmth. However, he wasn't very confident. On the other hand, Feng Luo, who had also heard their conversation, said to Lung Ruoxua impatiently, "Lord Lianwu, I know which Wutong tree my brother's is." How Feng Luo wished that his brother could be like him, able to take away a parasol tree. This was also extremely important for their family of four's future cultivation. And for some reason, he actually trusted Lung Ruoxua so much. He always felt that this Lord Lianwu in front of him seemed to be omnipotent. Thus, he naturally placed all the hopes of himself and his entire family on Lung Ruoxua. Of course, Lung Ruoxua had no idea that she had not done anything yet. The other party had regarded her as an idol based on his natural intuition, and she had inadvertently gained a small fan. Thanks at this moment, when she heard that Feng Luo was cooperating with her, Lung Ruoxua gave him a look that said that he was a promising student. Then, under Feng Luo's guidance, she came to a parasol tree that was slightly thicker than Feng Luo's small tree. After sizing it up for a long time, Lung Ruoxua smiled and asked, "Little tree, are you willing to leave with us?" After she finished speaking, the parasol tree did not respond for a long time. Lung Ruoxua was dumbfounded. Was she being ignored? How detestable! When had she ever received such treatment? Or was he ignored by the tree? Lung Ruoxua was enraged. The consequences would be severe. "Are you willing to leave with us?" Lung Ruoxua suppressed her anger and repeated. This time, she was still asking a question, but her tone was unfriendly. However, the parasol tree still did not react. "Little tree, have you really decided to play dumb to the end? If you don't give me an answer, you will regret it." Lung Ruoxua continued, a hint of warning in her tone. "Human, what do you want? This is the Phoenix territory, not the territory of you humans. Finally, the Wudong tree responded. So what if it's the Phoenix territory? If I want to take you away, will the Phoenix King dare to stop me? Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Feng Xiao, Feng Luo, and the other Phoenix tribe members who were leading them to the Parasol Tree Forest all broke out in cold sweat. Was this considered a threat and disdainful look at the Phoenix King? The gradually intensifying smell of gunpowder made the hearts of the three phoenixes tremble. However, Feng Xiao and a certain unlucky Phoenix clan member were frightened, while Feng Luo was excited. Lord Lian Wu is really too awesome. The cute little boy was so excited that he could not speak. His pink lips were trembling, and his little face was flushed red from excitement. At this moment, his eyes were filled with love as he looked at Lung Ruoxue. Actually, he also wanted to say those words that Lung Ruoxue had just said. However, he never had the courage to do so. Furthermore, if he really dared to say such things in front of Phoenix, his family of four would be in deep trouble as well. However, now that Lung Ruoxue had spoken her mind, Feng Luo, this little boy, was still so excited that it was as if he had said it himself. Human, you... At this moment, the parasol tree, which had been stunned by Lung Ruoxue's words, finally reacted. However, it was so angry that it could not speak. What about me? I'm telling you, little tree, you'd better obediently leave with me. Otherwise, if I really use violence, you'll be the one in trouble, understand? Lung Ruoxue warned without holding back. The parasol tree was so angry that it shook its branches up and down, showing its anger. However, Lung Ruoxue could not care less about the anger of small tree. She stood in front of the parasol tree and waited for its reply. Chapter 24:01. Are you even human? 2. Lung Ruoxue's words successfully caused Feng Xiao and the other two to break out in even more cold sweat. The Phoenix tribesman who had brought them to the Parasol Tree Forest said with a nervous and fearful expression, Lord Lian Wu, you can't use violence on the Parasol Tree. You can't hurt them. Can't hurt them? Oomph. These trees have been spoiled by your Phoenix kind. If they dare to disobey me, I will chop them down and burn them like firewood. Lung Ruoxue scoffed. Upon hearing this, the member of the Phoenix clan was silent for a moment. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and thought to himself, so you guys don't need the parasol tree anymore, but they do. How could he not be good to these trees? One must know that the Phoenix clansmen were practically treating these parasol trees like their ancestors. They were afraid that they would go on strike collectively. Of course, some of the parasol trees had gone on strike. However, there were still some who were working normally, weren't there? If Lord Lian's few words made those parasol trees, which were barely able to work normally, go on strike, then their Phoenix clan would have no place to cry. Thus, he really didn't want to see Lord Lianwu treat the parasol trees like this. At this moment, the truth of Lord Lianwu's words could be ignored, but it was absolutely impossible to scare these parasol trees. However, it was a pity that Lung Ruoxue wouldn't give him any face at all. She rolled her eyes at the Phoenix clansman, whose expression had suddenly turned ugly. She then continued, You'd better learn how I deal with these stubborn parasol trees. I don't want to learn. He didn't dare to threaten the parasol trees, because they really dared to go on strike in a fit of anger. But it was not up to him to learn or not. Lung Ruoxue stretched out her chubby, fair hand and touched the stubborn parasol tree. Then, she mumbled, This place is not bad. If I cut it down, I can make a chair. Let's just burn the branches like firewood. Oh, it can be used to cook rice, roast meat, and roast fish. Lung Ruoxue added with a smirk. Upon hearing this, the branches of the Wutong tree shook even more violently. As for the unlucky member of the Phoenix clan, his face was getting paler and paler, and his whole body was trembling. At this moment, he really wanted to faint. Wu, could he not face this violent and terrifying woman? Little tree, have you made your choice? Do you want to come with me obediently? Or do you want to be used as firewood or made into a chair? Lung Ruoxue didn't want to put on a one-man show, so she would ask this question from time to time. The parasol tree was furious. This human woman actually dared to treat it like this. It was preposterous. The indignant parasol tree suddenly felt aggrieved as it thought about it. Woo! Who did it offend this time? How did he meet such a female fiend? This human woman was simply too shameless. It had lived in the Phoenix Territory's parasol tree forest since it was young and had never seen someone like Lung Ruashue who would threaten it. This was because the Phoenix clan had always been very protective of them. Hence, the parasol tree was not used to such a huge contrast. However, it was also afraid that this woman would really do what she said. Although it was just a tree, it was not stupid. It was very smart. Looking at the way the Phoenix clan member treated this human, it could guess that this human's identity was not simple. If she really treated it as she said, and the Phoenix King did not help it, it was really possible that it would die. As the saying goes, a true man knows when to yield and when not to. After thinking through all of this, a certain parasol tree that Lung Ruashue had used as a warning finally gave in. It said to Lung Ruashue while choking with sobs, "They'll go with you." It's really aggrieved. Thanks T, this works too. Feng Xiao and the other two were dumbfounded. None of them had expected that the parasol tree would be afraid. This was the first time they had seen it. However, no matter what, Feng Xiao felt that the parasol tree that he was most familiar with was willing to leave with him. He was still very happy. Following that, he heard Lung Ruashue say to the parasol tree, "That's a good girl. No matter if it's a person or a tree, the most important thing is to be practical. So, your choice is wise. In addition, don't be afraid of me. I'm just scaring you. I won't really use you as a chair or as firewood. That would be too wasteful." Ugh. After hearing this, Feng Xiao was simply speechless and didn't know what to say. When the Phoenix clansman saw that Lung Ruashue had already taken away 2 of the parasol trees, he immediately said, "Lord Lianwu, now there are already 2 parasol trees willing to follow you. Do you think we can go back?" "Why go back?" Lung Ruashue blinked her eyes and asked innocently after hearing what the Phoenix clansman said. The Phoenix clansman was speechless. Could he say that taking away 2 trees was already a lot? One must know that every single parasol tree was precious to the Phoenix tribe. With just these 2, the Phoenix King would probably be heartbroken to see them. After thinking about it carefully, the Phoenix clansman didn't know what to say. He didn't want to be too direct, but if he didn't say anything, Lung Ruashue would naturally pretend to be confused. Following that, he heard Lung Ruashue say, "You said that there are already 2 parasol trees that are willing to follow me. But in fact, neither of these 2 trees are willing to leave with me. So, I still want to try and see if there are any trees that are willing to leave with me." Was this the rhythm of continuing to choose and threaten? The Phoenix clansman was dumbfounded again. He couldn't help but roar in his heart, "Lord Lianwu, I beg you stop picking. 2 trees were enough." Sob. The pitiful members of the Phoenix clan looked at Feng Xiao and Feng Luo with a pleading look. Although these 2 were about to leave the clan, they were still members of the clan. They couldn't just watch a human woman harm their clan, could they? But unfortunately, Feng Xiao and Feng Luo chose to turn a blind eye to his pleading eyes. Who asked Feng Xiao to think that he and his brother's parasol trees had been settled, but his parents had not. Hence, he supported Lung Ruashue in choosing a few more parasol trees. If Feng Xiao could think this way, Feng Luo, who thought he was protective of his own people, naturally thought so. As for that crying Phoenix man, no one had the time to care about him. Feng Xiao and Feng Luo watched as Lung Ruashue looked left and right to choose a parasol tree that caught her eye. They immediately walked to her side and instructed her, "Lord Lianwu, the thicker a parasol tree is, the longer it has grown, and the higher the intelligence it will produce. And a parasol tree like this is the greatest help to our Phoenix tribe." Oh. Lung Ruashue nodded to show that she understood. She then turned to the Phoenix clansman, who was crying as if his father had died, and asked, "Are there any parasol trees that are older than this one?" There are. The moment the member of the Phoenix tribe heard this, he beamed with joy. In his heart, the older a parasol tree was, the more difficult it would be to serve it. Not only that, but most importantly, the older parasol trees were all on strike. Hence, he was more willing to let Lung Roashua choose from there rather than from the ones that were suitable for the Phoenix tribe to cultivate. Chapter 24:02. Are you even human? 3. He knew that no one could take the parasol tree away. In this case, this human woman should naturally give up, right? The Phoenix clansman thought to himself with a pleased expression. When Feng Xiao and Feng Luo heard how excited their clansmen were, their hearts sank. They had already guessed where the parasol tree was. The two of them looked at each other gloomily. Initially, they had wanted to tell Lung Roashua how to choose the best parasol tree, but who knew that they would let their clansmen take advantage of the loophole. Were they overreaching themselves? Especially when they saw Lung Ruoxu's clueless expression, the two of them felt even more depressed. However, at this moment, it was not good for them to be too clear with Lung Ruoxua. After all, this was the Phoenix clan, and they had not left. However, even if they did not say anything, it did not mean that Lung Ruoxua would not take the initiative to ask. Lung Ruoxua glanced at Feng Xiao and Feng Luo, who were suddenly depressed. She then asked with a curious look, "Why did your clansmen suddenly become so happy when they heard that I wanted an old parasol tree? Could there be something fishy going on?" She didn't lower her voice at all. The three of them didn't even need to prick up their ears to hear her clearly. As soon as she said this, the face of the member of the Feng clan turned red. Feng Xiao and Feng Luo couldn't help but cough awkwardly. However, their gloominess instantly disappeared. "The old sycamore tree is currently on strike," Feng Luo said very honestly. Although they're on strike, I believe that with Lord Lianhua's charm, those trees will definitely take the initiative to bow under your skirt." The Phoenix clansman hurriedly explained when he saw that his thoughts were clear. However, Lung Roashua still looked at him with an expression that said, "So you didn't have good intentions." Instantly, his old face burned. Sob, how did I get exposed so quickly? He could not understand. She couldn't help but secretly glare at Feng Luo, who had exposed her. She thought to herself, this little brat is really unlikable. While she was at it, she carefully stole a glance at Lung Roashua. This human wouldn't smash the Feng clan in a fit of anger, right? However, Lung Roashua wasn't as angry as he thought she would be. Instead, she smiled and said, "Although you have some bad intentions, your flattery really hit the nail on the head. Forget it, I won't argue with you. Quickly take me to see those ancient sycamore trees. They'll have to properly appreciate them and see how old they are." Yes. This way, Lord Lianhu." The Phoenix clansman's heart, which had been in his throat, was greatly relieved. That was close. However, at least he was safe. The place they were just now was the periphery of the parasol tree forest, and the periphery was basically filled with some relatively younger parasol trees. If they wanted to see the older parasol trees, they had to go deeper into the parasol tree forest. Lung Ruoxua and the other two followed the guide for the Phoenix clan. The deeper they went into the parasol tree forest, the denser the fire-type spiritual chi became. Not long after, Lung Ruoxua saw many parasol trees that required 10 people to surround them. However, according to a certain guide, these parasol trees were not the oldest ones. There were even older ones among them. The moment Lung Ruoxua heard this, she immediately urged the guide to lead them further in. However, they had not walked far when a huge sycamore tree blocked their way. "Is there something?" Lung Ruoxua glanced at the parasol tree that was blocking their way and asked indifferently, "Were you the one who threatened my junior, saying that you would use it as a chair and firewood?" An old face appeared on the giant parasol tree, and there was a hint of dissatisfaction in his tone. "Yes, it's me." Lung Ruoxua did not deny it. When the huge parasol tree heard Lung Ruoxua's words, it flew into a rage. Its lush branches trembled violently to show its dissatisfaction. Lung Ruoxua glanced at the giant parasol tree again and asked, "What's the use of shaking your branches when you're angry? I'm not afraid. You despicable human, you're too infuriating." The huge sycamore tree was enraged, and its dense branches trembled even more violently. However, Lung Ruashua still had a smile on her face as she coldly asked, "Excuse me, are you a human?" The huge sycamore tree instantly turned to stone. It really didn't seem like a human. Seeing the huge parasol tree's dejected look, Lung Ruashua patted its trunk and consoled it. "Little tree, that descendant of yours is too disobedient. He already promised to leave with me, but he still complained to you. When I go back later, it'll definitely teach him a good lesson. Don't worry, jade can't be made into anything if it's not cut. I'll do everything I can to cultivate it into something useful." "Thanks, no. No, you can't bully it." Hearing this, the giant parasol tree immediately came back to its senses and shouted, "Then what do you think we should do? It's a snitch. I can't let this happen, otherwise it might betray me in the future. I can't take this risk." Lung Ruashua said with a serious expression, "I won tea. It won't do that, so you can't bully it." The giant parasol tree said hurriedly, Yes, in front of you. I promise you that I won't bully it. However, it's going to leave with me. Even if I bully it, you won't be able to see it." Lung Ruashua said with a smile. Then what should we do?" The giant parasol tree was at a loss for words. After being a tree for so many years, it did not have the heart of a human. Hence, Lung Ruachu's words made it feel conflicted. Feng Xiao and the other two, who had also heard this, had completely different reactions. Feng Xiao and Feng Luo wanted to hear the old tree say, "He'll go with you and watch over you so that you don't bully your juniors." However, a certain member of the Feng clan had a bad premonition in his heart. Following that, a certain Phoenix clansman heard Lung Ruashua say, "Why don't you come with me?" Upon hearing this, the Phoenix clansman, who thought that she was in a pathetic state, revealed an expression of "I knew it." She couldn't help but feel disgusted in her heart. This human woman was really too despicable. She actually spared no effort in kidnapping the parasol tree. However, he had a deep understanding of the stubbornness of these parasol trees. He knew that this old tree would definitely not agree to Lung Ruachu's suggestion. Hence, he was really not worried that Lung Ruashua would be able to snatch this tree away. Lung Ruachu's words also made the old tree fall silent for a long time. It was so long that a certain Phoenix clansman thought that the old sycamore tree would definitely refuse. Only then did the old sycamore tree slowly open its golden mouth and say, I can leave this place with you, but you can't bully us." Yes, the little tree was its grandson and the closest relative it had alive. Therefore, it was really worried that its grandson would leave with a human. If something really happened, it would regret it for the rest of its life. Therefore, it felt that it was more at ease to follow and watch by itself. It also didn't want its grandson to annoy this human because of his stubbornness. If she really killed him, it would be the one who regretted it. It had agreed to Lung Ruachu's request so easily. This was something that Feng Xiao and the other two did not expect. However, Feng Xiao and Feng Luo were still rather excited about this outcome. On the other hand, a certain Phoenix clansman was in a state of confusion. It was as if his parents had died. His face turned from white to black, then black to white. Seeing that the parasol tree was so tactful, Lung Ruashua was very happy. She patted its trunk and comforted it. "Don't worry, you won't regret following me. I won't bully you." After hearing Lung Ruachu's promise, the old sycamore tree was relieved. However, after thinking for a while and secretly communicating with the other parasol trees beside him, the old tree said hesitantly, "Human, I still have some older brothers. Can you bring them along? We don't want to be separated." "No problem. How much do you have?" When Lung Ruashua heard this, she couldn't ask for more. The more she looked at it, the cuter she felt this parasol tree was. Hee. This time, she really did not waste any effort. However, when a certain member of the Phoenix clan heard this, he was so angry that he fainted. This fact was such a huge blow to him that he didn't even have time to report it to the Phoenix King. When the Phoenix King heard of this matter, everything had already become a foregone conclusion. At this moment, let alone the phoenix who was so loyal to the Phoenix clan that she had fainted from anger. Even Feng Xiao and Feng Luo, who had been calm and collected, were dumbfounded when they heard this result. How? How did this happen? This was simply too unbelievable. At that moment, the two phoenixes felt an unprecedented sense of admiration for Lung Ruoxue. When they heard the old sycamore tree say that it wanted to leave with Lung Ruoxue, Feng Xiao and Feng Luo could not take this huge shock and fainted from happiness. Looking at the three phoenixes that had fainted, Lung Ruoxue was speechless. They really lacked training. This kind of determination is not good. Faced with Feng Xiao and Feng Luo, whose ability to take a beating was too low, Lung Ruoxue secretly decided that she would strengthen their training in this area in the future. Otherwise, how could they faint so easily? The old sycamore tree did not expect that his words would cause the three little phoenixes to faint. He muttered to himself, "Human, this is none of my business. I know that you've made a wise choice." After Lung Ruoxue appeased the old sycamore tree, she praised it. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.